is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion, we can do it together. When we look to the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PNP. People say the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher, wonder when it goes now, comrades. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. We get champion.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party.
The scale of dealing with anti-corruption issues. So there is a learning curve that we are going through. What is important is that the government supports the development of the institution so it can accelerate very quickly on that learning curve and provide the resources so that they can move very quickly on the learning curve, and that the government does not intervene or interfere. And that message goes to the opposition as well. Leave the anti-corruption and policing agencies to do their jobs. I don't want you to come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable. And stop making excuses for them.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to everyone in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in as usual. Really appreciate each and everyone's support. Remember, guys, when you come in, thumbs up the live, share us out if you can. And if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. That will be greatly appreciated. Tonight's topic is we're going to look at the PNP press release today, and the topic is court sentences one by one, straight prison, with your host Mystic Sensation. And we have Mr. Rattigan, who will be coming back on screen shortly. And we also have Melting Pot, who's also joined us. Before I go any further, I am just going to say condolences to the family, friends, and community and Jamaica at large for the passing of Jimmy Cliff, one of our icons. And I just want to say, may his soul sleep in peace. He has helped to put Jamaica on the map, and for that we salute him. Next, just going to welcome those in the chat. Patel Cruikshank, Dorrit McCoy, Ann Bennett, Lavina Miles, Jonathan Johns, Rennie Swaby, Sharon Ricketts, Beverly 975, Barbara Giwa, Rosa, Seaga McCarthy, Carla Ebanks, George Beckford, Cheerful Wild Horse, Jillian, just jumped, Mikhail Nelson, Lorraine Taylor, Laverne, Florence Denny, Rover Ellison, I said Lorraine Taylor already. Welcome, Christopher Wright. Welcome. Before I hand over to Baron, I just want to mention that we had reached out to Costco Canada, and they have agreed to send some aid relief to Jamaica on our behalf, because we reached out to them, so they have agreed. But the thing is, because we are not a charity organization, they asked us to identify a charity organization that they can do this through. So we identified Food for the Poor, and I reached out to them, and they are going to be partnering with Costco Canada through us to get some well-needed aid to Jamaica. And we're sure that doing it through Food for the Poor, the people who really needs it will get it. On Thursday, we're going to have a Zoom meeting to try to iron out the logistics. So that is in the pipeline. And we'll let you guys know as soon as everything is mobilized and going there. And also for the GoFundMe, I know I mentioned it before I started, and a lot of persons had committed to doing it. But to date, only 4 persons have actually contributed from the chat. What I have done, because I went back to work last Monday, so I started a lunch fundraiser where I'm cooking lunch for staff and other persons who wish to collect, and instead of paying me the money, they just donate it into the fund. So at least I can get the fund going to try to get these container homes, because I'm very serious about it. Okay?
All right.
So I'm going to put it again in the chat, and if anyone wants to donate, they can. Every little adds up. If it's even $1, that will be greatly appreciated. But for now, I've dug into my pocket and I'm providing meals in order to get the funding going, right, without any delay.
My people, let me tell you something. Darrell Vaz changed up the entire program that Mystic Sensation had established, because we have to address the situation. But before dealing with Darrell Vaz, we are going to, highlight the People's National Party press conference, and of course we have, right, our team here, strong panel, right, to break some of that down, right, and then of course we address Darrell Vaz, and then we get into, right, our program. So it's going to be an interesting night, right, tonight. Very interesting night. Now, without any further delay, let me just have Melting Pot, right, meet and greet his wonderful people. Jamaica, we love you going to bed. You understand? When we say Jamaica, Jamaica is a melting pot, is a hub for the entire globe. You understand? People love we for who we are. Melting Pot, come into the space.
Thank you, Sir Darrell. Greetings and blessings to everyone.
Yeah. Sorry, Melting Pot, you sound
low.
Distant. The mic
Distant.
It's not coming through.
All right, step up the mic. All right.
Still not coming through clear.
Sound
very
distant.
distant.
Okay, let me go through. Continue, Sir Darrell.
Okay, all right. In the meantime, our brother Rattigan, right, is in the space, right, behind the scene. Brother Rattigan is already here, right? He's just behind the scene. Tonight is going to be an interesting night, people. Trust me. Now, you notice, let me say this. When Darrell Vaz engaged in corruption, him tried to use arrogance, right, and being loud, right? That is not going to stop checks and balance. Jamaican people, again, what I'm seeing being demonstrated by the opposition, trust me, the opposition is holding them accountable. And definitely you can see that they don't want checks and balance. And so whenever they engage as it relates to checks and balance, you will see the behavior coming from Jamaica Labour Party, you understand, as it relates to the sort of behavior that you have seen. We all have witnessed, right, coming from Darrell Vaz. It's such an embarrassment. And I'm wondering, right, that is what Jamaica really vote for him to represent us. But we want to get into Darrell Vaz later. You understand? Because later will be greater, So without any delay, let us just get into right the People's National Party press conference, right, and listen to what Zilika Jess has to say, right. Let us find Zilika Jess, because we want to listen to her first, and then of course we break down some issues here, right. Let us get into that. My Jamaican people, Zilika Jess has said some serious and damaging thing, right. Remember from the onset what Mystic Sensation is saying. You find Zilika Jess?
I am waiting on it to be ready.
No, I'm ready.
But you kept talking.
That's what we don't know, because to merge into what you're doing. All right, here is Zilika Jess.
Good morning. Today I come before you with a very heavy heart. Today I wish I didn't have to speak, because I understand that by speaking, I run the risk of being accused of complaining. But I speak because I have a duty to the people of Northeastern St. Elizabeth, who elected me to be their voice and to be their compass. My issues today are multiple, but I will give you the abridged version. And I'll start with the long-standing practice, which has really merged into a convention whereby ministers or officials of the government ought properly to notify a sitting member of parliament before entering that MP's constituency to do any government-related issue. Now, that is not just a matter of parliamentary etiquette or constituency etiquette. It has its rationale in ensuring that as the duly elected representative of the people, you can be informed as to what is taking place in your constituency, so that by extension, you can inform the people, so that you can make yourself available when the government officials are present to continue to represent and advocate on behalf of your residents and your constituents on issues that concern them most, issues that you might not have an opportunity in the parliament to raise because of the rules of the parliament. In a time like this, a very sensitive time when the most vulnerable are most at risk, we expect that that practice would ensure that there is collaboration between the government officials and the elected representatives to ensure that persons can benefit. In my constituency, I have had to sit and watch as persons approach me the day before a visit to ask me if I heard that the Minister of Local Government is coming into the constituency. What is it that they're coming to do? Where can they meet them? And I have no answer to the questions because I was not notified in advance. In my constituency, first, the Speaker of the House came, and perhaps she came in her capacity as an individual outside of the politics, but by her utterances, she made statements to suggest that she had visited communities, and every community that she visited, residents were not hopeful that they would get any assistance from me as the Member of Parliament. And I thought it was very unfortunate that in a time like this, we would seek to sow seeds of division and discord, because the Speaker of the House visited 3 communities, all strongholds of the Jamaica Labour Party. Not one PNP community was visited, not one PNP community was given any of the care packages. In fact, the areas visited are well known: Rocky Hill, Santa Cruz, Burn Savannah, which is regarded by Edward Seaga as Little Tivoli. No reference was made to any other communities, but the speaker formed the conclusion that every community she visited were not hopeful that they would get help to build back houses or do repairs. And I speak on that because she came into the community on Saturday morning, and by Saturday afternoon, the Minister of Local Government also visited the constituency. He distributed care packages, 60 to the sitting Jamaica Labour Party councillor, but I was not informed of his visit prior. The 3 other councillors who happened to be PNP councillors were also not informed of the Minister of Local Government's visit. And of course, they got no packages from the minister. Only the JLP Council received packages. And finally, the Minister of Justice came on Friday, and my constituency office happened to be right next door to the venue that he visited. I was not notified in advance. No, it doesn't matter. I see the statement from the minister, and labeling a statement as being contained or filled with lies or accusing me of lying does not make it untrue, and it does not change the facts. The facts remain, as I stated in my earlier video, that the minister came into the constituency without prior notice. The minister came into the constituency, handed out or distributed supplies. It doesn't matter if it was 7 or 77. The parliamentary practice, the convention still remains. It is improper to visit an MP's constituency without prior notice. That is a practice that has long been observed. And if it is that the government is now departing from that practice, then we need to know why. Because we're striving towards good governance. In England, they have codified that almost in a sense by having ministers' code, which set that out, that ministers of government must notify and not just give just passing notice on the day, but proper notice. Perhaps it is time for us to implement that here in Jamaica. Secondly, I speak on the issue of housing because the speaker made mention that persons that she spoke within the communities, the JLP communities that she visited, were not hopeful that they would get assistance. Like many of these members of parliament, I also received only $10 million as an allocation for housing repair. On the very first day that my constituency office reopened after the hurricane, we had over 600 persons in attendance at the office asking for housing assistance. Over 600. And when I went into communities like Mosquito Bottom in Windsor, they didn't even know that there was a deadline given by the government to report on matters such as those, so their information was never captured. I raise it to say to you that the government, you've heard, has given a directive that they are recommending that you give 100,000 to each beneficiary. I have not been able to do so. I have taken the decision that I cannot choose who should benefit and who should not. I cannot choose who should get help to put on back their roofs and who should not when everybody needs help to put on back their roofs. And so every one of those 600 and odd persons who applied for housing assistance, I've submitted their names. And so it means that they're not going to get 100,000 each. It means that some of them going to get $12,000, which is only probably 3 sheets of zinc. But what do we do when the funding is not sufficient? And let me make it clear. I have PNP people who voted for me. I have JLP people who voted for me. I may have people who never support the politics before and them go vote. So I don't care who people vote for. When I go into a community to distribute supplies or to assist people, I have never asked them who they voted for. Once I have it, I'm going to share it, even though it means sometimes getting quarrels from your own supporters who feel as though you're helping the other side more than how you're helping them. And I say this to say that we do not support the practice of division. We do not support the practice of undermining duly elected representatives whose only intent is to provide help for people who are suffering. We see people who are in need. We don't see JLP and we don't see PNP. We see people who are vulnerable and who are depending on the government to make the right decisions so that their lives can be better. And that's the only objective that we have over here on the People's National Party side. Now, finally, I speak to the issue of infrastructure. The constituency that I represent suffered not just physical loss to the houses or roadwork was completely destroyed in areas, particularly in Santa Cruz, where it seems as if a bomb was dropped overnight. We have holes in the roadways which were over 20 feet deep. Now, I've tried my best to assist, but these are all temporary gaps, temporary stop gaps, by using the debris that had been washed away to try and fill back the holes so that people can't say that they are marooned. But what is the plan going forward? Because one more show of rain and all of that wash away, and people again going to be marooned. The people in Abraham, who even though we tried to fix the road and did the best that we could, they tell me that when rain fall, they still have to walk to get home up in the hills because the cars still can't manage because it's mud and dirt that was used. So it has slipped away and is slipping away. What is the plan? Are we going to wait until something disastrous happens before we put in place plans and solutions that will actually inure to the benefit of people? In Santa Cruz, we have a situation where all of the mud, all of the debris from the hills washed down into the town of Santa Cruz. So it is not uncommon for you to see people wearing dust masks when you visit Santa Cruz. What is the plan? The government has started to clear the roadway in Santa Cruz without any notification to me as the member of parliament. And now we are left with a situation where I don't know if there is funding that is left, but the road needs a water truck to actually wash away all of that mud, all of that debris. What is the plan for Santa Cruz? What is the plan for the areas in Thornton? Thornton has over 1,500, almost 2,000 persons, and 95% of Thornton lost roofs. Some houses have completely crumbled. What is the plan? Because my $10 million done, and I still don't know how we're going to help the rest of the residents in Windsor and the other areas, even in Brace River, that got flooded out and who go around and pick up 2 sheets of zinc and nail it on or tack it back on. But them know so the next shower of rain, them are going to wet up again and another strong gust of wind, it's going to blow off again. What is the plan? I close by saying that I have absolutely no intention to be cantankerous, and if I appear to be somewhat passionate, forgive me. But when you represent people who see you as their only hope, who come to you because they have nobody else to turn to, we have a duty to speak on their behalf, and we have a duty to hope that the government listens and the government acts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Member
Zelita
of
Jess,
Parliament.
for
It will appear as if
true political representation. Now, when we sit and we listen to Zelika Jess speaking about the political tribalism, because that is what it is, right? The tribalistic affair, right, that is coming from the Jamaica Labour Party. No political census between the opposition and the incumbent. Now, when we look in terms of what this is saying, we are going partially a month post Melissa and Jamaica. You are going to tell me, right, going into a month, that the Jamaica Labour Party administration is displaying nothing but arrogance, right? Tribalistic behavior, and using the relief distribution as a process of marginalization in terms of ensuring that who they believe voted for them, or any area who they believe, right, strongly support them. Those are the areas need to get aid, sometimes double up and triple up, and while others are not receiving any. Now, the protocol established that if you're going to go into a constituency, then as per protocol, you'd have contacted the member of parliament who is responsible for that constituency. And then when you go in and you're not in contact with the member of parliament and you are passing out aid, Let me say this. This is the narrative that you are selling Jamaica Labour Party. That here it is. You have a member of parliament in this constituency, and he or she is not helping you. It is the Jamaica Labour Party is helping you. Let me put this clear to Jamaica Labour Party administration. Right? The tons of aids that we are getting, the tons of assistance that we are getting outside, in the diaspora, and inside Jamaica. None of that had been given by the Jamaica Labour Party. I want you to get this straight. None of that. What the administration need to understand, right? That is a large chunk of the electorate that voted for the opposition. Large chunk of the electorate, both GLP and PNP. They are paying their taxes. And so then, when the government is making revenue from the taxes, I know that the government is not saying, I want the GLP taxes and I don't want the PNP taxes, so that we can live according to the budget that we plan. Couldn't be. And so then this system, right, of tribalistic politics, where you have people, let me say this, people are dying, Mr. Holness. People are dying. And we have seen clearly, as it relates to the questions that Damian Crawford asked the ADPEM director, we get to the understanding, clear, that many persons going a month have not received any benefit, no form of aid from the government. And Simon and the government is saying that 90% of obstruction in terms of debris, in terms of going to a particular area, clear, 90%. So if you have 90% access to those people, the question that Mystic Sensation is asking, why we have so many people, they are saying that leading up to a month, they have not gotten aid. We shouldn't have that. We shouldn't have that. And then Zelika Jess today is making it clear to all of us, both locally and in the diaspora, that this is what is happening. The marginalization, right? And so then you can't be doing that. The tribalistic politics, where is it going? And then Andrew Holness, right, goes into parliament and speaks so eloquently as if he's totally oblivious of what is happening. This is the demons that he is. I know, let me say this categorically clear. I know a lot of people are saying that Mystic Sensation have no respect towards the Prime Minister. I know that you are saying it. I've heard. But let me say this categorically clear. And let me ask you all who are saying that. Is the Prime Minister has any respect for himself? Does the Prime Minister respect his office? Because if the Prime Minister doesn't have any respect for himself and doesn't have any respect for his office, why it is incumbent on Mystic Sensation, right? Or Melting Pot, or Rattiga, right? To have respect to the Prime Minister, who clearly demonstrated that he has no respect for his office, right? Has no respect for himself, and base and the allegation that surrounds the Prime Minister. And what we know, right, is a fact. What we know is a fact that the Prime Minister's statutory declaration cannot be certified. What we know as a fact that the Prime Minister cannot explain his wealth. So don't ask Mystic Sensation to have any respect for the Prime Minister who doesn't respect himself, doesn't respect the office, and doesn't respect the Jamaican people. But I am saying here today that what Zelika just is saying is no lie. And it is not she alone who is saying it. Right? And it is time now that we recognize that people's lives are in danger. And we need a consensus going forward. We need a consensus going forward. And so then, the Prime Minister had spoken today about geo-mapping. Right? And I'm saying that probably the reason why you are going there, because areas that have been identified to be PNP area, those are areas that are going to be less supported. Right? We have some serious thing to talk about tonight, you know. The $150 million that Darrell Vaz had given to JPS, right, want to resemble $150 million from the catastrophe bond. But let me just take my time, right, build my chronological sequence until I get to that topic, because that is going to be serious, right? And let me tell you something, Darrell Vaz. We are not scared of your loudmouth. We know that every time that you're involved in corruption, you come off with that arrogant behavior and you beat up your chest. Argument done. You remember when you beat up your chest and you say argument done, you're going to bring in 110 school buses by such time, and you big up your chest saying, oh, why you're nothing, argument done. Now, let me tell you something, Darrell Vaz. That such time that you said you will bring in the 110 bus have already gone. So let me tell you something. Based on what Mystic Sensation is seeing, I am telling you, argument done. Investigation need to start. That is what me and Ratigan and Melting Pot want to tell you tonight. That argument done. Investigation need to start. But we could just catch that until we're ready for you. When we say come in front of the class, without any delay, let me just go to Melting Pot in terms of what Zelika just stated, Pot. Right? What say you on the matter, my brother?
First, I must, say good night to everyone once again. It's been a pleasure sitting here in front of you and discussing matters at hand. Yes, Sir Byron. What I have to say on the matter that presents itself with Zalika's yes is that, scant regard and disrespect was paid to her in the first place. When you have Juliet Holness, Desmond Mackenzie, and Delroy Chuck visiting her constituency without her approval or knowledge. And as such, they went there and it was all about party politics. As just rightly pointed out that Juliet Holness went to 3 strong old GLP, pocket in the constituency. And, she was making reference that the people were saying that if Jalika just get any aid, them not go get none. No, that is party politics and gutter politics and should not be the order of the day. Desmond Mackenzie also went as the Minister of Local Government and, went along with 60 care package and distributed amongst the Jamaica Labour Party supporter. Delroy Chuck also went and did the same thing. And all the people from within a certain section of the constituency that supported Zalika Jess were marginalized and victimized. They were not given anything. And this type of behavior, we have to condemn it. We can't condone that type of behavior. Because as you rightfully say, Sir Byron, the aid them that the GLP is handing out is not from their own contribution. It's from donor contribution who contributed for Jamaicans and not for the Jamaica Labour Party. Yeah, and for them to use it as a political tool, to regenerate the support base. It can't be like that. So all of these now, we have to burn it in the melting pot. Yeah, because we can't have them people that do them type of thing in our crisis time. Now when you look upon the 10 million we just get from the government, that can't do nothing. She have 600 plus, yeah, application for housing, help from people in our constituency. And that 10 million can't do nothing, can't start nothing. We are the Prime Minister just deal with things on a shambolic basis. Yeah? Because all of the money we're getting, 1 month post Melissa, we don't see where that money has been started to utilize, to rebuild. But they talk about rebuild and all these things. But, theme rebuilding is to not give the people any care package, because I hear make mention of that. But you can concentrate on road and on light and water, and then, the people them come first. So it must be the care package as a priority means of distribution. Then you work inward now and you give them back them light and water. But the Prime Minister priority was light and water. Him said that in the parliament. Now we have that as an uncaring leader for your country. Yeah, and so we know the funding that just get, yeah, it can't do nothing. Yeah, but she try her best. You understand? Because as a representative of the people, she have to put out fair effort to show that she is there working on behalf of the people. But what the Jamaica Labour Party has been doing is to suppress her work, make it look like she incapable of representing the people by using their strategy.
Basically sabotaging her.
Sabotaging her, yeah. So we have to call a spade, yeah, because I know Andrew Wallace know about the whole entire situation of the country, yeah. Him go on like him don't know about, the full scale of the damage and where it took place and what is happening on the ground, because I'm like to play that hypocritical role when time him back is against the wall. So 1 month after the Hurricane Melissa, and the Prime Minister is still unaware of certain places, still being marooned. Yeah, people don't get no help from the beginning up till now. And yet still is, backing the government policy, basically saying that it has done the best distribution in the entire history. I want to know where him get that from. Because, going back to even Hurricane Beryl, the people them still never get anything. Through the pandemic, the people them still never get anything. So, him being a government in charge for so long and saying that it's not the first situation in government deal with, and they have never been found in foul play or breach of, funding not been utilized in its format, is a lie. And we know that, and we have to tell him straight up, say it's a lie. Because everything that this Prime Minister done from in her office is to marginalize and victimize a section of the people in a society. Yeah? And play politics to the highest degree that is visible to even the blind. Even the blind can't see the politics where I play. Because if you there somewhere, and you not get nothing but you hear say over there, so I get more than 1, 2, 3 times, and you still not get nothing. You have to start question what is happening. And what is happening is simply the fact that marginalization and victimization is the order where the GLP are practiced right now in this crisis time, where the things them come in the island as gift to the people of Jamaica, but him using it for him own political gain. And we telling him again, say it wrong. And when him go in a parliament and I make, categorically like, no, nothing of the sort, and people spreading propaganda and telling lie and trying to paint a picture upon Jamaica, and these are the people that don't support Jamaica. Him are the one that don't support Jamaica. We are crying for the help of the people in Jamaica. What is Andrew Wallace doing? victimizing the majority of the people in Jamaica. Because when you look upon which part of the region is mostly affected, yeah, you have to know so well then it's not the entire country under severity. Yeah, Kingston and St. Andrew, minimal damage. But where the eye of the hurricane pass through, those parishes in the west, those parishes are where the attention must be centered around. And you cannot neglect the parish because of what their people are supporters of which party. It must be that the parish must be given the attention that the government of Jamaica is charged with the responsibility of delivering. So if it's about caring for the people and rebuilding the country, there cannot be any separation where communities and peoples are separated from the real action pack. You understand? The package must be distributed on a fair, systematic basis. Not that one place getting 5 distribution when one don't get, or among get 1. So the practice, we have to condemn it, man. Andrew Wallace, you have to come through and correct to the people. The amount of lie you're telling the parliament today and deceiving the people, unbelievable. Yeah, I don't want to get in a certain thing yet because no, Byron have a play the whole narrative for the night. But me, I tell the Prime Minister, you're too lie. You must stop telling lie. And my Jamaican people, just understand, say, we are here tonight to break down the lies that we tell and point out the truth where the truth lies. And back the floor.
Blessings. And let us bring in Brother Rattigan in the space. Brother Rattigan, as it relates to Zilika Jess, and some time ago when you are here, you made a statement, right, as it relates to the Prime Minister spending $17 million on sign, right, in on a sign in Montego Bay, right, and $12 million on a sign in Negril. I hope I have that correct. Now, Brother Rattigan, as it relates to what Zilika Jess is saying, and we have heard it, right, coming out of Parliament. We have heard the Prime Minister spoke of it. $10 million for housing repair. As what Sister Zilika Jess is saying, over 600 persons in her constituency, right, is seeking for house assistance. I am asking you, Brother Ratty, how is that possible? When you look on the government, when we talk about priority, and we look at the government spending $17 million for one side, and what Jamaicans are going through, the persons who within that, right, Melissa corridor, he had flown over the area, he had seen the suffrage, he has seen the destruction, like it's an atomic bomb drop into the entire zone. Now the Prime Minister who agreed on spending $17 million on a sign is now saying to those people, and particularly members of Parliament as it relates to their constituency, $10 million. And what Zess is saying, over 600 persons in her constituency, right? How the $10 million? How on God earth? Where is the conscience? Where is the sympathy? Where is the empathy? Your take on it, Brother Rattigan.
Is it 10 million per constituency, or just 10 million just for the affected constituencies, and then the other constituencies, if they're not affected, they get zero?
10 million for the affected constituency.
10 million for the affected constituency, because some constituency, he said 5 million.
Okay.
Yes.
So like Clarendon would get zero, right? Because
Clarendon would get zero. Exactly.
Okay. All right. So then they said they're doing assessment. Then if they were doing a proper assessment, they would realize that some areas got hit harder than others.
Exactly.
And it would make sense that you would say, okay, let's mobilize everything that we can to the more the seriously affected areas, and then we do it like that, where you go from more serious to less serious to bear the damage and so on and so forth. It seems to me that that would be the best way to do it, and because now he has this gentleman here, Commander Gill at PEM, right? I mean, it's kind of early in his tenure, but I don't think it's too early to make a judgment on him.
Yes.
What is he doing? I mean, he's here. He's supposed to be the guru. He's supposed to be at the top of the heap in
Mhm.
terms of providing resources to the people, and yet him can't answer some simple questions. The fact of the matter is that even if it's not their intention for it to be political, the perception it's political,
It's
and the
intentional.
perception is what counts. It's not when the intention, because at the end of the day, people don't really care what up you so. Them care what inner this, inner your hands, where you give them, right? So you
Yes.
can stay and tell them, oh, it's been done equally and all of that stuff. They're not getting the resources. And the Jamaica is getting a ton of resources. I mean, he was in South Africa this past weekend, begging. I don't think he got a lot of money because I have some friends over there who called the High Commission and they said they wanted to speak to the prime. They wanted to do a journalist. They wanted to interview the prime minister, and the question was asked about what, and they said we want to talk to him about Melissa, and we also want to talk to him about the 28 bank books and the Integrity Commission investigation. And they were rebuffed. They were told flatly, no, you're not going to get a chance to interview him. And if you look, he said, if he was interviewed, it was by somebody who was well vetted and a limited number of people. I don't see an interview from mainstream media in South Africa about him. So, but again, you can't really, I don't really expect much from him because he's proven to us time and time again who he is. And for me, the question now is, what do we do to get rid of this man?
Very good question.
And it looks like Paul Buchanan is going to get rid of this man. I don't know if you're going to do that piece of the story later on, but
Yes, but we have to do that, Ratty. We have to
oh
do that.
yeah, because it looks like he'll be gone, and then we can get a chance to teach the people them some civics
Yes.
about Jamaican politics. But all in all, I don't expect better from him, and it's just sad because this is not you're talking about people's lives. Forget about your livelihood. You're talking about people's lives, and you cannot treat them the way the prime minister and his administration are treating the people. And something has to give. What that something is, we wait to see. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Oh, you finished?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Brother Ratty. Now, the Prime Minister, right, went to Parliament today, with a smile face, and he acted as an angel. But I'm telling you, trust me, people, believe you me, when we talk about 100% pure evil, and he acts as if, he's seeking consensus with the opposition. Let me just play to you, my people, right, as it relates to what Mark Golden, right, is saying. Yeah, okay. And here it is that he's selling the narrative that he's stretching out his hand to Mark Golden. And at the same time, the Prime Minister is acting contrary, right, to that. I am going to have you listen to the comrade leader himself speaking, right? And this is what is damaging, right, the people who need the assistance. Because from day one, you should have consensus, right? So that you can have proper planning. And the Prime Minister totally avoid that. Now listen to what Mark Golden is saying. Listen to what the comrade leader is saying.
Still morning. Good morning, everyone, members of the media, listeners, my colleagues who are here. We wanted to have this press conference this morning. It's the second press conference we've had since the hurricane hit Jamaica. First one was about a week after the hurricane hit. We're now about 4 weeks since that date, 3 weeks since the press conference. And I wanted to have the elected representatives of the people in the constituencies that have been extremely badly affected to have the chance, I wanted to give them a chance to describe to the media and the public what they're experiencing and the deficiencies in the response, the gaps that need to be filled, and the decisions that need to be taken. This is not to be anything other than responsible representatives of the people to bring to the attention of the authorities and the public what needs to be done to make the overall response more effective. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of people whose lives have been turned upside down by this cataclysmic event. And the effects of that event are ongoing. We talk about phases and initial response morphing into recovery and other phases. But the truth is that because of the very ad hoc arrangements that have been put in place thus far, the level of normalcy and stability that have returned to the lives of people in the badly affected areas is very erratic. Some people have received relief because of good fortune, happen to be living in close to the major arterial roads, or they have had the benefit of interventions from international and local NGOs and disaster relief organizations. But many, many others have had little or no intervention. And so the situation is not an even one. And there are far too many people still who are suffering from the initial effects of this hurricane. The opposition, as I said at the first press conference, and I want to repeat it now, we must not seek to score political points as a competitor of the government. This is not the time for that. We've just gone through a general election barely 2 months ago. This is a time when Jamaica's facing a huge disaster, an economic disaster, a social disaster, a humanitarian disaster. And the role of the opposition at a time like this is to help the government to respond as effectively as possible, because we want Jamaica to get back on its feet. We represent people who need that to happen. So when you see us perhaps disagreeing with the government on a particular issue, it is not as a result of being cantankerous or being trivial or petty. We take issue with those things that we think are fundamental and that we should not allow to be implemented in the originally proposed way, because it will have a deleterious effect. It will have an effect on the governance of the country or on the response to the disaster, which is suboptimal and needs to be improved. And that is how we have been attempting to approach this. Equity, transparency, and accountability are vital in the response to a disaster. We have heard numerous reports that political representatives of the governing party are being used to distribute government relief, taxpayer funded or donor funded through the government relief in ways which they have no legal or political standing constitutionally to play that role. Elected representatives must be included in things that are happening in their constituency so that they have information, so that their information can be shared with those who are operating on the ground, and you can work together with all stakeholders, including those who are representing the other side of the political fence, to get the best possible solution in a difficult situation. That is not happening. I have been bringing these incidents as I hear of them. I have been bringing them to the attention of the Prime Minister through WhatsApp. He has not responded to me at all since last week, the Saturday before last, 10 days ago. I have not heard from him in response to any of my messages. So when the Minister of Information says that we have been communicating constantly, that is simply untrue. There has been a total cessation of any communication, certainly coming in my direction from the Prime Minister. I note that there's a decision that has been taken to enact legislation to establish a new reconstruction agency, the acronym NARA, National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, I believe, which will have wide powers to ensure that decisions can be taken very quickly when it comes to rebuilding, for example. I know that this is something that the private sector have been agitating for, and I see the need for it. But where you are circumventing normal procedures because the circumstances that we're in require that, it is all the more important that the thing be done in a transparent manner and that all critical stakeholders should be at the table when those decisions are being taken or being reviewed. The Prime Minister, in making that announcement, spoke of a broad-based governance structure for this new authority. I had called for something of that nature right after the hurricane. I wrote to him about it. However, I noticed that he, at his press conference when he announced it, he made no mention of the opposition being at the table. I don't know whether that omission was inadvertent or deliberate. But I can tell you that if we want Jamaica to get back on her feet as quickly as possible, if we want to avoid social dislocation, and if we want people to feel that the response is equitable, is well designed, and is without political bias, it is important that critical stakeholders be at the table. And the opposition, with 28 seats in the parliament and almost the same number of votes in the last election as the government, should be part of that process. We are willing to serve.
All right.
We are currently being
Take it away,
excluded.
honey.
All of the committees
Well
that have been
said,
established.
comrade leader, right? Well measurable. And where the comrade leader, right, is seeking consensus. Because the comrade leader know how vitally important it is for a catastrophe like this, that it needs partnership between the opposition and the incumbent. And Jamaica, it is sad that we hear Mark Golden speaking about the Jamaica Labour Party administration circumventing the norms. And let me tell you what we have seen in terms of evidence of what comrade leader is saying. We have seen George Wright, Michelle Charles, we all have seen it, people, who are caretakers. They have been voted out. They are not members of parliament. However, the members of parliament are not getting certain aids to give out. Who we see getting them? George Wright and Michelle Charles. And they are not member of parliament. So what that simply means? What that simply means? It's all about gaining political mileage. It's all about gutter politics, tribal politics that Andrew Holness is now bringing forward. Now let us show, as it relates to the hypocritical behavior of Andrew Holness. Extremely hypocritical. Mark Golden, right, had corresponded to him 10 days ago, seeking consensus. 10 days ago. But Andrew Holness has to be Andrew Holness. Comes out in the public, take the loudest trumpet. Yes, I'm willing to stretch hands to the opposition. But yet, doing contrary. Now let me ask Andrew Holness, and let me ask Jamaica Labour Party administration, why have you not responded to Mark Golden correspondence? Why? What is the message are you sending Mark Golden? The message that we read into that is that you don't want to hear nothing from him. You don't want to partner with him. You don't want any consensus. Jamaica did not vote for this. Jamaica did not vote for this, Andrew Holness. The common leader also stated that in spite of certain things, right, and certain strategy that you try to play out by yourself, right, there is no mention of the opposition at the table. No mention of the opposition at the table. Now, Andrew Holness, let me ask you a question. Sir, this is a disaster. A crisis. People are suffering. People are dying. And all you know to do is to play what? Gutter politics. You go into parliament and you bring your big teeth and you laugh. And in parliament now you show the world that you are so innocent. Eh? And that of course you're seeking consensus. Well, we want to ask you a question. Why have you not responded to Mark Golden correspondence? So that is what you need to answer. We are not seeing no indication, no signs whatsoever that you are making any attempt, any effort to have a collaborative partnership with Mark Golden during this crisis. This is not about you and JLP. This could never be about you and JLP. And I'm sure that JLP is also suffering within this crisis. Prime Minister, you have it wrong. You're dead wrong. And let me say this. It can never happen unless you see consensus with the opposition, right? And formulate reasonable strategies and policies to make it work. It is time that we put partisan politics. There is no need for it. And that's what Mark Golden said. September 3rd has gone. The election is over. We had faced a crisis, one that is crippling to our economy. And Prime Minister, let me say this to you if you don't know. Delay is danger. We have seen delay in Pearl Harbor. 5 minutes in Pearl Harbor. And the Japanese attacked. And we see the devastation of that. 5 minutes delay. The longer you delay, Prime Minister, people are suffering. The crisis is getting worse. The health situation is getting worse and people are suffering. Let me heal back and bring in Melting Pot. Melting Pot.
Yes, sir, Byron. And I mean, it is critical of the Prime Minister in regards to his behavior, as it relates to the opposition party and the opposition leader. Sir Mark Jefferson Golding. Now we all know that from the outset, you know, Sir Marky G make sure, stated categorically, that the situation in Jamaica should not be a means of any of the party to try to score any political points. So, Mark Golding wanted a fair and transparent operation as it related to, the whole fiasco surrounding Hurricane Melissa. But here it is that Andrew Wallace, as the Prime Minister, does not wish to or seek to have any affiliation with the opposition party and its leader, Sir Mark Jefferson Golding. Even to the fact when Sir Mark Jefferson Golding has messaged him on several occasions, 10 days onward, he has not responded. And so that categorically, outlined to everyone that he doesn't want to have any form of collaboration with the People's National Party and its leadership. So Andrew Wallace want to go it alone. But under those circumstances, can Andrew Wallace, get things right in Jamaica on his own initiative? Rebuilding Jamaica is a consensus, collaboration exercise where the incumbent party and the opposition party should work in tandem. And as such, it would give a better result and a quicker result as it relates to getting back, people's life to normality and to get back the economy moving again. But Andrew Wallace is playing politics, and it is clear and obvious from the outset. Even to, get rid of ADPEM and its entire staff in the capacity that he did was a sign of, something to come. And we are witnessing right now. Because, a month onward, most of the people that are being affected severely as a result of Hurricane Melissa has not seen any help coming towards them in the way that it should, and in some cases, some people don't get any at all because places are still left marooned, as Delano Seabright said, 90% of the road were now accessible to vehicular traffic. That's tell you that the 10% is still unattended to. We haven't heard any update on that 10%. But just looking at the whole, scenario that is being played out, we are seeing wide scale of victimization and, in some case, marginalization. And it's a cause of concern because we know that no member of parliament should not be left out of the process as it relates to, being around the table, having discussion, being brief, being, looked on as the person in charge of the constituency. That must be a matter of priority between the government and whoever it is as member of parliament. And in the case of people who are not elected, they should not be participating the way we see they are. In the case of Michelle Charles and George Wright, they are not elected member, but they are out there exercising elected member role and responsibility. And that does show a biasness and, a whole revelation in terms of victimization, marginalization, and suppression of the people. And the government must be held responsible for all of these actions. As it relates to, the aid package in terms of financial, reimbursement to the member of parliament, them. $10 million is a spit in the bucket, basically, to the extent of what we see. And as you rightfully say, Sir Byron, when you have one sign cost 17 million and the next one costs 12 million and the mic in the parliament costs 18 million, how are you going to use 10 million to address the situation, the widespread, demolition that Hurricane Melissa unleashed and left on the people? And we know that is just a really, really bad taste in the mouth of people, you know, in Jamaica and outside of Jamaica who are watching the progress of, you know, how Jamaica is getting itself back together. When they're hearing about $10 million for our entire constituency, $10 million cannot even start, can't start. When you have 600 plus people, yeah, who houses are damaged, but they are having to go to their representative, yeah, and you know the representative cannot assist them in the way that these people need the assistance. It is bad. There are a lot of money in Jamaica right now, a whole heap of money. And if I may look at a bit of graphic I have here, we all know that the World Bank estimated the cost of 8.8 billion US dollar to restore back Jamaica. The Prime Minister mentioned of 650 million US dollar, an estimated value of 100 billion Jamaican dollar that him have at him disposal. Now, if you have 100 billion Jamaican dollars at your disposal, oh, on the hurt, you're going to take up 10 million get a member of parliament for your constituency. Eh? You have 63 constituencies, you know. And some of these constituencies are not classified as constituencies that need funding. You will know in some cases, some places don't need any, and some places the Prime Minister project $5 million. I don't want to know what $5 million can do. You understand? So the situation that arises that Andrew wants about crocus bag of money and sit down and I don't know where I do with it. Yeah. He also make mention of a special rebuilding loan of 500 million US. Yeah. That is coming from the World Bank. And then him come and him talk about other aspect of rebuilding the country and where the money is coming from, and you know, say that Jamaica as a government them have $4 billion expense on their shoulder. But with all these money that the government has generated, we are not seeing any of it being distributed or being utilized to help restore back the country and to give the people them hopes. He's talking now about building out the shops them because they want the food supply now to in shop where you use voucher rather than, you know, truck taking them to people. And that is, I can't understand where the Prime Minister is going with that idea right now. Is the people them in the situation that they are should be sitting down waiting until him get a system in place before the help start to reach them, the way them supposed to get the help? We can't have the Prime Minister telling me these things, you know. I am one Jamaican citizen that will not, you know, venture to even have a semblance of open that policy. Because that policy is the wrong policy. My people should not be waiting on the government to, you know, create a system of food voucher before them can get the food or the people them donate to them. The people them need the food right now as we speak. Yeah, and it's a month going onward now. And the Prime Minister is just telling about this policy where the shop them now have going to have the soldier them going in to build back the shop them and then stock them with the supply. Or you're supposed to sell the supply will come free for the people them. You as a government, you cannot be putting the supply into shops. There must be certain points of distribution in every sector in the constituency. More than one, you're going to create 4 or 5 sectors. The truck them go there and drop off the distribution, and the people them living close in that proximity must go there and get them stuff. You have the people them there handing out the people them the package and know what they give them, and if you have a list of name, you keep the list of name. Right? So you know that, well, okay, you do a canvassing, yeah, and you know that, well, 50 families live in this little region here, and we know who the families are. You keep them name on that sheet, and you distribute the food to them, and whenever they come, you distribute and you make note of it. But to put the gift them into shop, the donation into shop, yeah, how is that going to work, Andrew Wallace? You tell me, how is that going to work for the people them? And is this the idea that you have with the donation that come into the island for the people them? To build up the shop them and put them in there before the people start get it? 1 month going on? Come on, man, you need to take a look at yourself, man. You know, the situation is absurd that you have made yourself, you know, unworthy of a leader in the country. The people them are crying out for a change, and I yield back the floor.
Wonderful said. Right. When we tell you that we have a panel as it relates to a melting pot, as it relates to a Rattigan, right? I mean, trust me, we have it tonight. Now, brother Rattigan, right? Come in the space because the opposition leader, right, is saying that there is no consensus, there is no collaboration between him and the prime minister because 10 days ago, as according to right comrade leader, and of course comrade leader is speaking the truth, right, that he sent some correspondence to Andrew Holness, right, with the intention, with the aim of working together, right, but yet the prime minister, in a critical time like this, has not responded to the opposition. What is your take on the matter, sir?
Well, we don't know why, because he hasn't provided any reason why he hasn't been in contact with the opposition leader. We do know that he was out of the country for about 4 or 5 days, but that still leaves you with about another 5-6 days that he have responded. And again, I don't know why he didn't do it, but there shouldn't be any reason why he didn't do it, because we're talking about an emergency. We're talking about a unity between both political parties for the sake of the people of Jamaica. And this just goes to prove my point, the point I've been making for quite some time, that as a leader, the prime minister is bankrupt. He has no currency. How can you make proclamations that you're willing to reach out to civil society, opposition, NGOs, international partners, diaspora, everybody? You're trying to bring people together under one umbrella, one tent, for one purpose. And then you get a call from probably the most significant person that you want to hear from, which is the opposition, because at the end of the day, the opposition is part of the government.
Exactly.
And you would think that out of courtesy, out of the love for the Jamaican people, out of the crisis that is developing, out of the sheer force and magnitude and destruction of this hurricane, that whatever hatchet he might have had, it would have been buried by now, and said, listen, let's do this for the sake of the Jamaican people. Also, there were examples that he could have followed. I believe it was the Bahamas or Cayman, where the prime minister and the opposition leader came to Jamaica. And I think they may have arrived in Jamaica on the same flight, but they came as a show of unity to say, our country is behind your country, you know, Mr. Prime Minister. And it didn't resonate with him. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking for ways now how we can, frankly speaking, relieve him of his position. Because talking to him is wasting your effort. It's wasting time. He's not interested. And so my efforts now are to focus on Paul Buchanan's lawsuit. And should the judge rule against Paul Buchanan, is to reach out to my people and say, listen, we have to do a GoFundMe. We have to help Paul Buchanan, not because of any party, but because of the principle that there's one law in Jamaica and it governs everybody, that people shouldn't be given a break simply because of the position they occupy or where they live. It's one law. And for far too long, we have accepted that there are two laws in Jamaica. It's one law, but two different applications, I should say. And my focus now is to make sure that when the decision is rendered, and hopefully it will be that the election was null and void, that then we'll start seeing the end of this prime minister. Frankly speaking, as long as he's prime minister, I don't expect, I have no expectation that he will act in a manner consistent with being a leader. This man is all for self. And it's sickening. It's also sickening to even talk about it because, you know, I don't want to get into a groove where we just talk. I'm about doing something now. But then again, the people of Jamaica too, they have to help us to help them. You know, it's not enough that we there talk and I try the things. They have to get up and they have to rise up and do something. Again, legal. We're not talking about hurting anybody or anything like that. Take to the streets, do something. Register your disapproval any way you can see fit, as long as it's legal. But we need to do something. And until then, it's more of the same.
More the same.
I yield.
Right. Wonderfully stated, Brother Rattigan. Wonderfully stated, Melting Pot. Right. Trust me. Love it. Now, Jamaica, let us visit the madness that took place as it relates to Darrell Vaz. And let me tell you something as it relates to the modus operandi of Darrell Vaz. Whenever he's going to venture into corruption, that is the way how he behaves. A lot of arrogance, right? And very defensive. You understand? And where he's going to say, right, that is final. That is not final, Mr. Vaz. Not final. And will never ever be final when we are around here. Now, let us find that only as it relates to the madness, the arrogant behavior displayed by Darrell Vaz. Amazing. And I ask a question, is this what we really, for those who voted for him, voted for this type of political representation? It's crazy, my Jamaican people. The responsibility of the opposition, what Jamaica ought to know, that the opposition is doing a fine and excellent job in asking those technical questions, right, that hinge on transparency. And we are happy that the opposition is doing just that. Now listen to the craziness, my Jamaican people. Listen to the craziness.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Our spokesperson on transport is not with us today. So I claim my time as Energy Minister and his time as transport shadow spokesperson. I want to, firstly, Madam Speaker, pay credit to the workers of this country. The workers of Petrojam, the workers of JPSCO, the workers of Flow, Digicel, all of them. The truckers, all the people in public transportation, for the tremendous work that they have done to alleviate the tremendous difficulty that this country has been burdened with through the passage of Hurricane Melissa. The major portion of my response is in relation to energy, but the minister did make some other remarks in relation to restoration of the rural school bus service. And Minister, you have mentioned that it was only Westmoreland and Southern St. James that were not restored, but I gather that Hanover, the member from Western Hanover, has already mentioned that she's calling upon the government to see to the restoration of our rural bus service. You have also mentioned in relation to telecommunications, the problem with those free Wi-Fi locations under the Universal Service Fund. I just want to say, Minister, long before Hurricane Melissa, we have seen in so many of these locations, the sites were just not working. No telecommunications services provided to the site. So I am requesting that as you attempt now to restore these sites that fell due to the hurricane, there needs to be a broader look at maintenance in relation to all the hundreds of locations that are not working in areas unaffected by the hurricane. There has to be a maintenance provision for Universal Service Fund. And as the person who started that body, I really am urging that the funding be put in place for full maintenance so that our communities can really maximize their benefits. You had mentioned before you got into JPS that Petrojam is due for maintenance, which means that it will be shut down for a while. You didn't say when it will be closed and for how long. And that facility is a most important facility. Now, as was highlighted, you've also mentioned that there was severe damage to the solar plant, Paradise Solar. You've mentioned the restoration of Dr. Bird, JPPC, and West Kingston Power Partners, but you didn't say a word about the regasification facility that was taken offline and presumably now back online, and for which the CEO of JPS had indicated would result in some price increases to the customer because of the use of heavy fuel oil and diesel for generation in that period. So we'd like to hear more on that. But to get to the main issue, and you have dealt with the restoration efforts of the JPSCO, highlighting the large elephant in the room, which was your letter to them advising of the termination of their license from 2027. And Minister, well, you know, the minister, one of the first things I like to ask about is this letter, because I thought I had friends in JPSCO, but not even them will share the letter with me, and perhaps eventually you will share the letter so that we can fully understand what did the letter say. Minister, 5 minutes gone already?
So, Mr. Speaker, we ask that the member's time be extended for 15 minutes to complete his presentation.
The request is on the floor. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Much obliged, Mr. Speaker, and to my colleagues. Minister, because this is a backdrop, I just want to spend 2 minutes in reminding the country of the position that we have maintained on this side. Because there's no magic to 2027, as it was when I was Minister of Telecommunications in 1999. There was no magic to 2038, which was the date for the telecom license to be expired. And that as a minister, fervent on getting justice, fervent on seeing changes, one doesn't have to wait until 2027. Indeed, that JPSO license was amended in 2008 by a JLP government and by me in 2016. And what we have been saying from 2023, don't wait until time runs out to adjust the license. Do it now. In fact, do it when you have leverage. So in my sectoral presentation in 2023, I mentioned certain changes that could have been negotiated then. In 2024, I repeated that. And in 2025, again, I came here and repeated what are some of the important critical changes that we need to effect before we get to July 2025, which was 2 years before July 2027. And so we waited and wasted time. And to date, a letter was sent to JPSCO. And I really want to see the content of that letter because their interpretation is that the minister threatened them. And as a result of their interpretation, it's all over the place. All over the place. And the minister is also aware that one of the partners is seeking to exit the partnership. So it is very important, especially as we are now providing a loan to the company, a large loan, which we'll get into. The Minister of Finance isn't here, but normally in these matters, you would expect that the Minister of Finance, $150 million US is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And so Minister, there are some questions. Firstly, you've mentioned that today the government is not yet aware of the interest rate. You can't lend money without that very important element being known. So let us know what that interest rate is. But more importantly, you did say that at the end of 2 years, if the company hasn't paid back the loan by then, there's an opportunity for the government to transfer that loan into equity, into shares, and to acquire the assets. What is the value of that asset? Is the value of the asset done at today's date? So at the time when you're taking the risk, is the value going to be when you've added 150 million, enhance the value? At what point have you done that valuation? That I think is fundamental to this Parliament accepting this as a way forward. So that is a most important question. But the minister has mentioned that JPSCO wants $350 million. And presumably, that is the cost for the full restoration that is to happen now in February. But the government is only providing 150. So we are short by $200 million. Where, yes, and it's United States dollars. You know, before all of this, we were being told by JPS and others that the amount of money for full restoration was between 400 and 500. So we are down to 350. They are getting 150 from the government of Jamaica. Where, and I'm so happy the Minister of Finance is back, where is the balance to come from? $200 million. And very importantly, what assurance is there? Especially because restoration is tied to this 150 million. What assurance is there for the balance 200 million. And again, have commitments been given by the government for this balance to be provided? And by the way, probably when the Minister of Finance speaks, we will know exactly where that 150 million is coming from. Consult fund, borrowed money, and I think the cat bond. Minister, I don't see how we can leave Parliament today and not be told where that 150 million US is coming from. But Minister, earlier, yeah. Earlier, Minister, Minister, I want to suggest a few things. I think you. I am making. I am making the submission mindful of the precarious state of our country and the desire to ensure that we are stronger after all of this. That's a very simple. And I spoke earlier, Minister, of concession and leverage. We are providing that as we need to get our economy
let's start with where we are now. This is the first opportunity that the Andrew Holness-led administration has had to start from scratch and negotiate a new license, electricity license, on behalf of the people of Jamaica. So don't tell me about 2001 and 2000. This is the first time that this has happened. This administration and this minister had given a commitment to the people of Jamaica that we were going to negotiate a new license. We didn't say who the new license would be with. And at this point, what I have stated here today is that I have separated Melissa and the needs that the JPS needs for Melissa in terms of funding to bring forward the timelines. And I can state here now that the contract with the consultants out of the UK were signed yesterday. They arrive here next week. The negotiating team of the government of Jamaica is ready to go to the table with the JPS next week with the hope of coming to some kind of agreement or to have a disagreement so we know exactly which road we are going down. So to ask me about a valuation when a negotiation is just starting and the license is very explicit on what happens if the government takes the position that they are going to buy out the assets of the existing electricity provider. So that is a premature question that I can't answer because I don't reach here yet, because it might not even be necessary. So that's number one. Number two, the meeting that I had yesterday with the chairman of the JPS, the CEO of the JPS, and the CFO of the JPS, in relation to what we agreed, was unanimous as the best way forward to deal with the current situation and to make sure that we don't delay it and we go on the same path, which is to try and come with an agreement in the shortest possible time with the negotiation teams at the table. Any attempt to rush a negotiation because you are responding to Melissa would be irresponsible, and it would only delay the process of restoration, because that can't happen in a day, a week, a month, or 2 months, or 6 months. 2 years in itself is a stretch. But my commitment on behalf of this government is that we are going to go to the table and we are going to try, and based on the meeting that we had yesterday, and the fact that they know already the fundamental changes that we want, that we will have a path that will either take us to consensus or we move to the next point, which is options. The government is still in control of this negotiation and has the leverage, because we are the one who have to issue the license whenever that time comes. So I want to make Jamaica assured that Melissa has not shifted that when, if it was negotiated differently, it could have easily given the government less leverage based on the circumstances. I want to mention about Petrojam. You asked some questions. I'm prepared to get those answers for you and give you, as we usually communicate, because that is important information. You mentioned Paradise Solar. You said we didn't mention anything about LNG. You would have seen the statement from JPS about what they are doing for the customers of JPS in terms of no disconnections, payment plans, etc., etc. The JPS knows exactly from Beryl where this government stands. The OUR is already on top of their game, and we are going to make sure that before anything happens in relation to any discussion about price increase or rate increase, that a proper discussion is had and it is evaluated, and whatever it is has to be communicated and dealt with. If it becomes that way, you are going a bit further, because you reach to that point. Where I reach is to make sure what I announced today happens in the shortest possible time, to ease the burden and the suffering of those who don't have not even a tarpaulin over their head. So I give you the assurance that that is on my radar. And if that is inevitable, we will manage it, and we'll make sure that we do what we have to do to ease the burden on the customers of the JPS. You asked about interest rate. We got approval yesterday. The Ministry of Finance, I think at this hour, if not this evening, tomorrow morning, will start discussions with JPS. And as I said before, we have to be very careful, because if we are lending the money and the interest rate is not reasonable, and by the way, it's consolidated fund money. It's not borrowed money, it's consolidated fund money. But guess what? If you don't spend $150 million to do this, and you spend it on some house, and fix some school, and some water, and you don't have light, the $150 million don't value nothing. Because light, electricity is the most important thing in a recovery as we speak now. So I take full responsibility with support of my minister. As I said before, you were asked about the shortfall. We have given a commitment for $150 million. They are to come back in relation to their financial model for the balance. The original ask was $300 million. We said we are prepared to do 2 months to get the restoration back. We will evaluate it at that point, depending on where we are. But right now, the most important thing is to move that 4 to 6 months and cut it down to 2 to 3 months. If the Jamaican people know and see the activity on the ground, to know that January 2026 is going to be the last of the suffering because of electricity, they can manage that. But if you tell them May, June next year, they're just going to throw their money there because 6 months is impossible to sustain. So, remember, you and I get on. We can discuss anything you want, whether off here, on here, wherever you want. Just understand one thing. My responsibility on behalf of this government and the Andrew Holness-led administration is to reduce the suffering of the people in the shortest possible time. And this is a game changer to what JPS had proposed originally and was going down the road. And the fact that we can do what we have done.
Hold on. I don't have to get to Mark Golden thing. Because he said some serious things that I want to. I have some questions.
Just stop the sharing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Now we have to talk about this. Because based on what I am hearing, Rattigan and Melting Pot, right? That the total cost for restoration would be $350 million. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And just about now that they will be utilizing 150 million US dollars, right, to JPS. And as it relates to the question asked, where the other 200 million will be coming from. Now, my serious concern that I have, right, as it relates to the destruction of Melissa, and might be a lot of people not, thinking of this. One of the first things I am seeing here is that JPS, right, based on the destruction, right, would have lose their client base would have been reduced. So then what I mean in terms of JPS client base will be reduced. It simply means the destruction of Melissa. Many homes totally destroyed and hence will not require the service of JPS. Why are we overlooking that? Many of these homes that totally destroyed, right, will not require the service of JPS unless the government, you understand, put them in a zone of readiness by giving those people homes and actually fix their places. So let me see what we are talking about here. Is it feasible for the government to go down this route, knowing to the fact that JPS will be losing, right? Client base will be reduced. And so then that profit that they will be making is going to be far less. We are lending JPS 150 million and also pending to also lend 200 million. But let me ask a question. This is very serious. Favor Williams is the Minister of Finance. Why is she not speaking? Why is she not speaking? No, again, hear this, people. Whatever discussion discussed between Darrell Vaz, right, and JPS Authority, right, because I heard Philip Powell asking him to share a letter. And if you're talking about transparency, why that letter cannot be shared? Next question that I'm asking, why that letter cannot be shared? Now, he's saying, whatever agreement made, how can you make that agreement without establishing, right, an interest rate? Rattigan, this is serious. How are you going to make, no, all right, if I am going to the bank to borrow some money, right? Number one, in terms of the rate that I am going to borrow at, I want to know that. That have to pencil out. That have to pencil out. And so then, what is it that you are going to go ahead, right, make promises, right, and the rate, the interest rate has not been established? I can't see through that. That is madness. Now, here's the thing, my Jamaican people. I want Jamaican people to listen to me. Because remember, I am not an economist. Ratigan is not an economist. Melting Pot is not an economist. So we are use common sense. The big economists like Ralston Hyman, Dr. Andre Harton, those are the person who might be refine this. But let me ask the question, might be they are listening, and if they want to refine it too. Because as I said, I have no economist. I am not an economist, so I am totally out of my, what do you call it now?
League.
My depth. Me just ask some common sense question. Me they ask, right? The simple common sense question, Ratty. If me as a small shop have 150 client a service, right? And something happen and I lose 50 of that client, it simply means it is going to affect my profit line. Am I wrong or right? Melting Pot, wrong or right?
You're right.
Okay.
100%.
So then, Melissa, right, destroying a lot of JPS client. How JPS is going to operate profitable in order to deal with, right, the loan that they are going to be borrowing from us, the government, right? Plus, remember, I know the totality of the loan, right, is just not 150, you know. It is going to be what? 350 million US dollars. So then my question, why are we lending, taking up taxpayers' money, lending it to JPS, where JPS is going to find it extremely difficult because their client base totally reduced. It is going to reduce. Am I common sense that? I mean, this is something that might be Ralston Hyman or Dr. Andre Arton, you understand, would have to speak on in terms of the amount of client, the client base reduction of JPS, and why JPS have borrowed a big $350 million, yeah, and Flavor Williams not speaking. Not speaking. She's the one who's supposed to speak on this. Right? And then you have Minister Vaz. And here the reason now. We cannot trust Minister Vaz. Minister Vaz came out and said he will bring in 110 new school buses. Now that you may say, Rattigan, new school buses, until social media hit him. Then the new buses turned to old buses. And then Darrell Vaz himself claimed that, okay, he's going to get up and ready, and the 110 school buses supposed to be in the island by X time. As far as me concerned, the X time gone. Now, what's this now? Not only that, $1.4 billion are given to Darrell Vaz, right? And it's only 60 bus Darrell Vaz have. And so then Darrell Vaz need to explain that, but that is the next situation that we go good on Ratty. Ratty, me confused, and right, as we say, common sense now use in terms of Melissa destruction, right, to many of the clients. You understand? And so then JPS is going to be operating in terms of profitable, you understand, to pay back this gigantic loan, and why the government is doing this. So let me just put you in the space where I can explain right here, because me not understand. Me lost.
All right. We could start with the minister's perception of the Jamaican people. Start with that before we get to JPS. What did the minister say? Them dunce, them dark, and them stupid. You see, if you operate from that perspective, you can do whatever you want to. Because you figure that the people will not mount any opposition to what's going on. Let that resonate with you people. They're dunce, they're dark, and they're stupid. That's an actual quote from Minister Vaz. Not make it up. He said that. And if people disbelieve me, we can play the tape. So you start with that perception. Then you move to the next point, which is common sense is not so common after all. Because you don't have to be an expert in this area to just ask some very simple listen. First thing you do, listen carefully, and then you ask some simple question. Here's one of the things that he said that struck me. He said electricity is the most important thing in the recovery process. What about water? What about food? People can't do without electricity. You can give them some dry food, you can give them some water, and they will live. But that's what he said. Electricity is the most important thing in the recovery process now. Never mention food, never mention water. He also mentioned that JPS is going to require $350 million to do the restoration. But what he didn't tell you, and you need to know this, people, and this is common sense. Who owns JPS? Make we start right this up.
Yes.
Who owns JPS? JPS is owned, 80% of JPS is owned by a Japanese and a South Korean. Japanese and South Korean companies. 80%. 19.9% is owned by the Jamaican government. And 1% is owned by minority shareholders. Keep that in mind. Jamaica now own JPS. It's owned by foreigners, outsiders. Now let me share something with you. In 2022, JPS had a net profit. This means after them pay all of them bills. Net profit of $54.4 million. That's 2022. 2023, JPS had a net profit of $68.2 million. So they might make money. Them not lose. Last year, they had a net profit of almost $62 million. So they might make money. The question now is, why are you going to take $150 million out of the consolidated fund to loan it to this basically privately owned company? Them can get loans from all over the place. I hear him say something about, yes, but they must have the license before them become attractive to lenders. Foolishness. Also, him said this loan of the mortgage for 150. You know how long him will give them for pay back? 5 years. 5 years them get for pay it back. And then him said, but we haven't discussed the interest yet. We're still working on the interest. What kind of foolishness is this? If you in a position of strength, you ever see any bank yet? You go to bank, go to any bank, an ordinary person go to the bank and I go tell the bank, dictate terms to the bank and tell the bank, say, no, this is how much we are paying for the interest. No.
Big up Snedger.
No. So what I'm talking about is just pure unadulterated nonsense. Also people, anybody remember this? The Prime Minister, I think he was a candidate. He wasn't Prime Minister at the time. This must have been 2016. Saying that he's going to attract big electric companies, big generator, and big this and big that, and them going lower electricity rates, and everybody's going to be happy and live a happy life.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes.
So how come we still only have JPS now to deal with? You
Exactly.
cannot believe these people. And like Mystic rightly pointed out, when Minister Vaz said, him always use this term, trying to reduce the suffering of people in the shortest possible time. You remember? Something similar like that him said with the school bus, you know.
Exactly.
Something similar like that him said with the school bus. And Mystic rightly pointed out that he said, meaning Minister Vaz, said that by the end of July 2025, 110 school buses would be in Jamaica. And as far as we know, we don't have 110 right now. And nobody is asking, except the people in another little quarter. Nobody in Jamaica is saying to him, we not get to a bus and we not see what money. Where the money there, where the bus there. One or the other. And remember I'm saying it's phases. The first phase was 110 buses for 1.4 billion.
Yes.
We get 60 plus. We know we don't, put it this way, we don't get 110. Him fail for fulfill the promise. And we still trust this man for go ahead and talk about him.
Exactly.
Get people to negotiate with JPS about this. And then they hear him say, they might get negotiators from where? From the UK. And that him say, where are the negotiators from? JA. Where are those negotiators? We don't have sense. No, we're dunce, we're dark, and we're stupid.
Yeah. But
we don't have no sense.
Ratty, hold on there. Ratty, before you proceed, one of the things that I want you to look at, because this is a question that, right, has to be asked, must ask, right, must ask for concerned citizens like us, Ratty. I am saying, are the consumers, right, going to bear the brunt of the increase to balance the reduction in their client shortfall? Because remember, as I said, that Melissa, right, would have disrupted, right, many of JPS consumers, right, that will not able, right, to even require the service of JPS. Because they don't have no house. They don't have no house. Okay. So then if you lose them client there, right? What is the agreement in terms of putting that increase on the interest rate to spread it? You understand? So that it may balance out the client reduction. That is the question I would like some economists to answer.
Him not gonna answer it because him can't answer it because him light, dunce, and stupid. Let me tell you something. Him say that if listen now, we don't even see the contract, you know. We never knew if them have a contract yet. Because him say them are come, them are gonna negotiate, and nobody knows the contract. But here's one of the things him say about the contract. Tonight him say that if they fail to pay back the loan in 5 years, then Jamaica reserves the right to purchase the assets from JPS. Does he know the value of the assets? Does he have a projection of what assets will worth in 2, 3, 4, 5 years time? Because the infrastructure is old.
Exactly.
It's old. Is there something there? Here's another thing. Is there any agreement to prevent the sale of JPS to another consortium? So the man them get their money and run away. Is there something to that effect? We don't know. Here's another point, and I saw it in the chat. Somebody mentioned it. Is JPS's operations in Jamaica insured?
And that's a very solid question too.
And if it's insured,
why are we doing it? This is crazy.
I mean, this is what them call ass backwards. You don't negotiate them way. You don't negotiate these way. The company has been profitable almost for the last 3 years. They've made a profit in the last 3 years of 120, 172, 107. Thank you, sir. 172 million they've made from the Jamaican taxpayers. Net. This is after them pay them bills. Net.
Yeah.
over 3 years. 172. And them come now and say, we want to borrow some money from you. And you look on them and say, wait a minute. It's a South Korean company. It's a Japanese company. And them are going to borrow money from we. And we don't even know the terms yet, and we agreed to it in principle. And now we are going to tell them, so them have 5 years to pay it back. We don't know if them have insurance. We don't know this. We don't know that. We don't know the value of the assets them have, because what happens is that they could walk away in 5 years and say, take the assets, and the assets worth far less than the money that's owed. What we do at that point? Another thing is, do they have any legal remedy in the contract to say, if you don't pay and the assets turn out to be 20 million and you owe us 50, we're coming after you for the remaining 30, and we can do it in a court? Did they make an agreement and say, this is a court where we are going? Well, come on, man. Come on.
Very good question, Ratty. And this is one of the reasons why, you understand, they don't even want to show him the letter. You understand, as it relates to what, that sort of contractual agreement. This doesn't make any sense at all.
None.
This is madness. Total madness.
None.
All right.
So the CEO of the company don't know what the employees are doing.
And then I don't understand, Ratty. the finance minister who has been present chose not to speak. What is going on?
She better off not speaking. Trust me. She better off not speaking, because once she starts to talk, that woman is a disaster at every turn. And if she open up her mouth, them going to ask questions and she can't. So she's going to stumble, she's going to fall.
And that's why they're coaching her to speak next week. They said she will speak next week because it's going to take a whole week to coach her to get to where she needs to be, and she's still not going to be there.
So this is a person who the Anglo finances of the country, man, who can speak? No, this is crazy, man. This is totally crazy. All right, Brother Ratty. Thanks for the input. Let me bring in. You finished, Ratty? Let me ask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me bring in Melting Pot, because as I said, Melting Pot, there are several issues, right, where it seems like we are entering into agreement, right? We don't understand as it relates to what rate we are going to tie, you understand, to the loan that we are going to give. 350 million. We are going to start with 150 million US dollars first, right? And then over the protracted period, another 200 million. They are asking, the opposition is asking the right question, where that 200 million is going to come from. And to me, Melting Pot, the 150 million I want to look like a cat one, right? What is no? The 100. What are the Melting Pot before I make a start? To me, the 150 million I want to look like a cat band.
Right to the last zero.
And I am wondering, you understand, if the government is anticipating some sort of political kickback from that. We don't understand, because what you pointed out, you understand, as it relates to no, someone in the chat asked the question, right? Does JPS operating with insurance?
But before you go any further, Mr. Olness said that they're not going to be getting the 150,000 for the cat bond, or 150 million, whatever it was, because there's going to be a fee, a transfer fee, and he doesn't know how much that's going to be yet. But the finance minister should be giving us all the information.
When? So next week? So next week Parliament about hot? No, next week Parliament about
money, because there's a fee attached for the transference of the money.
So without any delay, Melting Pot.
Yes, sir, Lord Byron. Well, we have a big issue in front of us right now. And the issue is of such, Yeah. So I remember, even as we speak, yeah, there is still not an agreement, as to the renewal of JPS license.
Exactly.
And this has been mentioned from 2023 by Philip Palwell to the government. And they haven't done anything about that. So, I mean, just the fact of the matter now that we're in a crisis, yeah, and this said company that, you know, is still in limbo with its license renewal, you know, is now gonna be getting 350 million US dollar to do a restoration program. But the whole fact of the matter is that this company is not a Jamaican-owned company. 80% has been owned by the Japanese and South Korean entity. 19% by the Jamaican government and 1% by minority shareholder. So we are asking the question, whereas the 80% by the Japan government and the South Korean government entity, where is their contribution in all of the 350 million? Seeing that they have made up $172 million profit over the last 3 years. And this is after, you know, taking out all their expense. So what happened to their contribution to the restoration program? It's their company, basically. So, you know, that's a big issue we have. And the fact of the matter here, Darrell Vaz making mention, you know, that the government is now considering to do, you know, for the first time, yeah, a new licensing agreement, yeah, as it relates to, they are now trying to probably get rid of the whole agreement that they are currently have with JPS and trying to start people from the UK. He has made mention of the fact that a letter was signed yesterday, and the people are, you know, expected in the island to conduct their negotiation policy. So the JPS company is up in arms right now, as we speak. Yeah, but going back to what Darrell Vaz said in regards to all of the restoration program, yeah, 150 million will be given to JPS in the first phase, yeah. But he's saying now that the government want to get everything done within 2 months, not 6 months, because the consumer would be, you know, enraged if it go that distant of 6 months. So he wants to get it done. So I'm asking Darrell Vaz, yeah.
But hold on that melting pot. My wife said the consumer don't have no way to consume it, you know, as it relates to all of them, the house they were destroying.
We know that, Byron. But we just paint the picture and where Darren Vaz come with, yeah? And him stand to defend the Jamaica government, led by Andrew Wallace. That's what I'm saying. You know? Then Darrell Vaz, if you put out 150 million now in the first phase of the restoration program, but you want to get it done within 2 months, where is the next 200 million going to come from in the next 2 months? Because them need 350 million.
Exactly.
So we are asked the question. We're asking that question. You understand? So, as you rightfully said, you know, Sir Byron, yeah, I think that the 150 million consolidated refund money is what the 150 million represent that the government giving to JPS right now. But they have not come out and state categorically where the money is coming from. But we are looking at that 150 million as it relates to, you know, the first phase of money given to them as the catastrophic ban hurricane relief money, yeah, from the insurance. Now, what we have here now that we have to look at, yeah, basically, because we are not hearing from the government where the main shareholder in JPS is concerned what they are doing. How much are they willing to reinvest? What is the actual cost value of JPS at the moment for you to be giving them 350 million US? And what is the interest rate on this loan? What are the percentage? Yeah, because this is a business agreement, you know. I mean, the government have 19%, so you'd expect that they would contribute their part. But it can't be that the whole exercise program of 350 million will be, you know, funded primarily by the Jamaican government. We are asking what are the majority shareholders' contribution. So this now look like something that when, you know, end up in a kickback situation where the government fund everything at some, hanky-panky business deal where them construct, and then them benefit from it. Because I wouldn't give a company that I don't renew them license this amount of investment, 350 million, I wouldn't do that because there is uncertainty looming right now over JPS as we speak.
Yeah.
We don't know where it's going at the moment.
Yeah, what talk the melting pot? What talk the melting pot? Let caller call in, so let just make the caller speak. Yes, caller, and Mystic Sensation, go ahead.
Good afternoon to you, melting pot, Roddy, and your beautiful wife, my brother.
What this sound like I'm a brethren, man?
Palm Beach, Roddy, much respect to you, my brother.
Blessings.
And you raise some very, very great questions. Despite that gibberish and contradiction from Minister Vaz, my question isn't JPS still under contract for 2 more years?
Yes.
Isn't the country under a devastating and severe catastrophe where hundreds of thousands of people are living in the elements without food, without shelter? Wouldn't it be morally responsible at this point in time for any responsible government to put all negotiations for contract, postpone up negotiations for contract until we have started to save lives and put people in shelter?
Well said.
The minister said that electricity is the most important thing. I don't know which part of the world he come from or what he's been drinking. Food, shelter are the most important thing for any human being. A lot of people can't afford electricity in Jamaica. Most of the people who have lost their homes could not afford electricity in Jamaica, could not afford to pay the bill. So how can the minister, in his right mind and sense, publicly state in a time like this that electricity is the most important thing? Not food, not shelter, not medication, not hospitalization, but electricity is the most important thing. This is where we're at as a country, and this is why the country is not going to recover. Gentlemen, 2 weeks ago, Mystic, I called you and I tell you that I am asking the Jamaican people to ask the Prime Minister to step down and let people with sound mind and capable mind take over the responsibility of the restoration and the rebuilding of the country. The Prime Minister and the government does not have the capacity to lead the country out of this. It is obvious they don't have the capacity to do it. It has been a month. We don't have a plan to get out of it. We don't have a plan to rebuild. We don't have a plan to save lives and rebuild community. We don't have a plan to restart the economy. Put aside buildings that have been destroyed. How do you restore the agricultural community of the country? How do you restore the tourism in the country? Because the people sleeping in the elements, the mothers, the babies, the elderly people, a lot of those people work in the hotels. So when you call to open hotels, who's going to work in the hotels? Because they're calling for tourism. When there's diseases, homelessness, and hunger ravishing through Western Jamaica, which is the heart of the tourist industry. There's a fundamental problem with the leadership of the country. There's a disconnect with reality with the leader of the country. There's a disconnect with certain sectors of communities in Jamaica and the reality on the ground in the country. And the reason why I say this is because last week, as a Jamaican living abroad, I see Jamaicans and the Prime Minister in the National Stadium jumping and cheering and high-fiving while we have babies, senior citizens, mothers sleeping in the elements, haven't had a hot meal, homeless. And you tell me that Jamaicans and the Prime Minister can celebrate a football game? When we look at things that happen in Jamaica, we see Miss World fall off a stage. We see the Jamaica national team lose the match, and we see this hurricane and this disaster. Retribution to September 3rd.
Exactly. Retribution for September 3rd. Say it again.
For September 3rd.
Say it again, my brother.
Jamaica. It's retribution for September 3rd.
Okay.
The universe works in mysterious ways, Jamaican people. It does. It does. And the country can't continue down this destructive path. Listen, it's Western Jamaica this time. Next time, it's another part of Jamaica. And may I ask Jamaica people a question. It was a year and a couple months ago that Beryl just passed. And then Melissa come find Jamaica in the same situation. Do you really believe that the next hurricane not going to find in the same situation again?
Same way.
Can you tell me it's not going to happen again?
Same way.
Do you believe it's not going to happen again? And it's just going to get worse. Mystic, we remember that leader in Haiti, that him and his wife was governing Haiti with the corruption and the killing and everything that was going on. What happened in Haiti?
Oh, Batistuta.
Devastating hurricane.
Yes.
And until this day, Haiti has not recovered.
Exactly.
And I told the Mystic that Jamaica is getting on the same path as Haiti. The disparity between the few wealthy and the poor is just widening in Jamaica. The government have no clue or lack the capability and the capacity to do anything to solve the issues in Jamaica. You know, in 1988, the first thing when we had what hurricane did we have in 1988? Does anyone know?
Hurricane Gilbert.
We had
Gilbert.
You know what the first thing Edward Seaga did? The first call he made was to the opposition leader to join hands.
Exactly.
To rebuild Jamaica.
And that is
Because
true.
That's the only way.
That is true.
The only way you can rebuild the country. I'm not a laborite. I'm not a patriot. I don't have a vote in Jamaica. I'm an American citizen. But you got to look at trend and look at behaviors. Edward Seaga made the first call to the opposition leader and said, let's join hands to rebuild the country, because that's the only way you can rebuild the country.
Yeah.
But this current government is so immune and so scared of transparency that they will not include the opposition or even seek advice from the opposition. And we know, as any well-thinking Jamaican know, that the expertise and the knowledge of the people to help the country is on the side of the opposition. And that's why I'm saying, and the Jamaican Labour Party leader, it's bigger than the government. The government just does not have the capacity to deal with this, nor do they have the moral fortitude to do the right thing. And it is sad. And if Jamaica people don't wake up, what's in Western Jamaica is going to end up in Eastern Jamaica, because it's not just buildings that are destroyed. The economy is destroyed. What is the plan to rebuild the economy? It can't just be for tourism, because tourism is barely 30% of the economy. Agriculture is 40% of the economy. So it's just not calling for tourism. So I want to know, and I've been asking, what is the plan, Mr. Andrew Holness? What is the plan? When you have people like Vaz negotiating, Vaz couldn't even negotiate himself out of a paper bag. Did you listen to what the man said? Did you realize he never told Jamaican people that their bill was not going to be increased? He never said that.
Exactly.
So they can expect an increase in their bill. But the fact is that during a disaster and a catastrophe, you are focused on negotiating a contract that does expire in 2 years. That don't make no sense. This part, what come out time won't make no sense, because it was not but a bunch of malarkey and contradiction. The fact that you are negotiating in this point in time, it tells you where this government head is. It tells you that they have no clue, no idea, and they lack any sense of responsibility to the people of Jamaica. And my people of Jamaica, I'm telling you, God help you. God help you. Because when the man tell you that him have containers, you're going to bring containers to put people in. Our people are not animals, man. Our people are people. They're people with dignity. Our people have dignity. They want their homes to be rebuilt. They want their lands to be recultivated. They want to restart their lives, not to be put up in tin pans. It's disgraceful. It is totally disgraceful. And I am sad for Jamaica, because This kind of disaster takes a total unity of the country, people to galvanize in unity and work together to bring the country back. It's not about things, it's about the unity that's going to rebuild Jamaica. It's about how can the leadership galvanize the people and create the unity so each man is his brother's keeper to rebuild the country. That's what it's going to take, my brother. And void of that, Jamaica, Western Jamaica, and the entire Jamaica will never be rebuilt within the next 50 years. Guarantee you that. And I can put money on that because this trend is not going to help the country. I yield, my brother, and y'all have a great night.
So true. Right. I mean, I understand the caller passion, and me myself couldn't really say it any better than the caller. Well said, well measured. And he had spoken the truth. Simply the truth. Right? Melting pot. Yes. Continue.
Yeah, and we must, really acknowledge a lot of things that the caller just said, and because they are very factual, and when we look at the situation, as it surrounds the whole licensing contract with JPS and the Jamaica government, it is in a state of shambles at the moment because you cannot, as a government, take up $350 million and give to a company that you currently are not, willing to sign back their contract. That contract was supposed to be looked at from as far back as 2023. And you don't let a contract run to this stage where we are at the end of 2025, basically. This contract, I don't know what time in 2027 it lasts, but we are basically just a year and a little bit a month away. So you not allow a contract to get to that stage, because that represents a year of uncertainty between government and prospective investors. So that alone, gives us a cause for concern. But then at the same time, Darrell Vaz is also mentioning that Jamaica might have a new, business partner in terms of JPS. That's what he said. And that would be a first, in the history of Jamaica. So he's looking at going down a different route. So why are you giving this current administration $350 million US? Yeah. Because it don't make no sense. It don't make any sense because he has not gone into any negotiation, as it relates to, extending the contract. He's running down the contract that tell you that he don't want this current, business partner as it relates to Japan and South Korea. He's trying to get some new investors in. But at the same time, you're going to take up 350 million, give them. Then the 350 million, you have to give them time to pay back that along with the interest, because it must come with an interest rate. So we are looking now at maybe another 7 years, because you might give them a 5-year agreement with this 350 million. I don't know, but minimum 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, they still have a year and plus.
Well, I'm rushing a thing to you because we want to touch Paul Buchanan situation. We have 24 minutes. So you understand, we want to cut up some slacks. You understand, play Market G and hear in response to Market G. And then we touch in a Paul Buchanan situation because that's serious enough. That's serious enough. So just see if we can wrap up in a minute.
All right, I can wrap up and come now. Because I basically reached that right now. So what I'm trying to say, as it relates to the government and the policy that it have with the current administration at JPS, is that, matters need to straighten out. If you're gonna renew them license, you have to renew them license. You can't give them this money with just 1 year and plus left on them license. Because this come with a extended period for them to pay back the loan. So, that need to clear up, and it should have been clear up before you're going to, any farmer agreement with this $350 million US. Yes, my brother, I yield back the floor.
All right, blessings.
Mystic, give me one quick, less than a minute.
All right,
I want people to understand that, look at some of the contracts that Mr. Vaz has been involved with and tell me who benefited. everybody benefited except the Jamaican people. Remember the one when one leased the land up by Blue Mountain? Would the Jamaican people benefit from that? For Lickland,
No.
not them want to get the lease. The second one is rooms on the beach. People don't forget that 13 million the place value, and Minister Bars was involved in it, and it was sold for 7. The school buses. Oh, we can't forget that. And now here comes JPS. People, do we want this money and negotiate contracts for our being involved in it?
No.
Absolutely not. Thank you, sir.
Well said. We could split and go through. But listen, right, how Mr. Arrogant, right, responded to Mark Golden questions. Right, listen, my Jamaican.
Mr. Speaker. Minister, the context of your presentation in relation to the JPS situation is that the license expires, I think it's July 2027. Notice has been given, triggering the consequences of license termination. Jamaica has roughly 20% of the equity in JPS. The funding gap, based on the recently done work to do the restoration of the grid, including substations, transmission, posts, etc., distribution lines, is around 350 million US. So our 20%, if you're looking at it as a shareholder, our 20% would be 70 million. But we are actually taking the risk of lending an unsecured loan to JPS of 150 million, which is twice the proportion of the equity that we hold in the business. So unsecured, you don't have any collateral to seize. You're relying on a mechanism to get it back, which I'm going to speak to in a second. So my question to you is, first of all, the other 200 million, which is currently not funded, but which is necessary to achieve the timelines that you have indicated for restoration. What is the assurance that that 200 million will be raised on a timely basis so as to enable the necessary expenditures to be made by JPS to hit the targets, which are presumably fairly aggressive targets given the extent of the damage to the grid and so on? What level of confidence do you have that that 200 million will be raised by them? And what is the time frame that it has to be raised by for that target to be met? I'd like to know the time frame for that. Secondly, would we be disbursing our 150 before that 200 million is in place? Are we going to take the risk of lending that money to JPS, funded out of the consolidated fund you've said? I was going to ask you how it's going to be funded. That's roughly the same amount as the cat bond drawdown, we're told. This 150, which Jamaica has been seeing as being critical to the housing, shelter, the school fixing up, the health centers and hospitals, etc. JPS is now going to get the benefit of that money. I want to know whether we're going to take that risk and disburse those funds to JPS until the damage fund is fully funded. As it stands now, all you've told us is you've left it up to them and they're to come back to you. That, I think, is a risk we're not prepared to take as a country. I want to know which GOJ entity is going to carry the loan. So is it DBJ? You know, which entity is going to be the lender of record? Because part of what you've said is a mechanism that assures repayment, you've said, is that if at the end of July 2027, there is no renewal of the license because you can't agree terms, and you're acquiring the assets of JPS, you're saying that 150 would be a set-off, essentially. That's what I read you to be saying, that you would recover the 150, it would go in reduction of what you would have to pay them to acquire the assets. So for set-off requires mutuality, meaning that the person who owes you is the same person you owe. So I want to know which entity within the government is going to carry that loan to the JPS. You said the interest rate is not yet settled, and the Ministry of Finance is going to deal with that hopefully tomorrow. I'm hoping that we will get a report on what that is, because this is coming out of the nation's available liquidity, and when there are a whole lot of needs to be met. So I think it's necessary for us to do what is necessary to get JPS up and running as quickly as possible. But I think we have to do it very prudently and sensibly so that we don't unnecessarily expose taxpayers to loss. So I would like your assurance, Minister, that that 200 million will be coughed up by JPS, perhaps by its two large overseas shareholders, Marubeni and East West Power, Korean government, South Korean government-owned large utility, or JPS is going to draw down on whatever funding it can raise from its creditors. I don't know how they plan to fund it, but we need to know it's funded before we put our 150 in. That's the last question I have, because I'm asking questions, is in all of this that we're discussing now, to get things back up and running as quickly as possible, which is the main imperative we're all aligned around. We've also had talk over the last year or so since Beryl about building resilience into our distribution and transmission systems for electricity. And there's been talk about putting wiring underground, and that the cost of that is very high. And in fact, the CEO of JPS has said it'd be prohibitive. But what I want to know is what practical steps are being taken to build resilience into the grid now for those sections which have to be rebuilt? And is that a consideration at all? And if it is, what are the things that you intend to do to make sure that the grid is more resilient to withstand weather events, maybe not as drastic as Melissa, but weather events that we know sooner or later, hopefully much later, we're going to have to endure again. So that's my third question. So I'll summarize. One is the timeline for JPS to fund the 200 million gap, and whether you would ensure that that funding is in place before you expose our $150 million. Which GOJ entity is going to carry the loan, the $150 million loan that will be made to JPS? And what, if anything, is being done to build greater resilience into the grid in those areas where the grid is being substantially rebuilt? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
All right, come in, Mr. Aragon.
Let me indicate very clearly for all of Jamaica to hear. The meeting that we had yesterday morning, where the Minister of Finance and the Financial Secretary was there, we ironed out a way forward, realizing the seriousness and the time-sensitive nature of this response. So the first answer to your question is that this government is prepared on behalf of the people of Jamaica to release the $150 million in whatever tranches are required as quickly as possible to get the restoration going. And that's the difference between a caring government and somebody who has a financial background. The people want light. Okay? So let me just make that clear.
Point of order, Minister.
Point of order.
Minister, point of order.
His feet, talking. The minister standing on his feet, talking into the mic. You don't need to personalize your response. You don't need to get hot under the collar. It's a legitimate question I'm asking. And I'm just, so don't bother about having a financial background. I want to know, simple question, are you going to ensure the funding is in place? And now you're coming back and personalizing it in a totally unnecessary way.
Blood for the free advice.
Let me repeat. Let me repeat. The member is saying that his position is that he would not release the $150 million unless he knew where the $200 million was coming from. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. Hansard is there. Hansard is there. Hansard is there. Hansard is there. And I am telling you.
Minister,
I am telling you.
Minister, please. Please. For those members who do not have the floor, please allow the minister to answer the question.
So
you may continue, Minister.
All right, we have
Mr. Speaker, let me just say it again.
Right.
Based on the meeting that took place yesterday.
Take him away. Full of arrogant and outrightly stupid. At the bottom line, this is what, right, we, the citizens of Jamaica, right, should request, based on my subjective opinion. We are talking about a loan totality of, right, the possibility of $350 million US, starting out with $150 million first. JPS total asset value is unknown to us. Is unknown. My question, what we need to have, and the government as it relates to transparency, is to do an assessment as it relates to JPS total value at this time, considering to the fact that we are considering to give a loan, you understand, as it relates to $150 million US, right, to start with, and then, right, an additional $200 million, which is not yet explained. And yet, Jamaican people, right, don't know the total value as it relates to JPS asset. My argument is, what if JPS total asset is only $50 million US? And we are taking up $350 million US, right, to give JPS. Are you kidding me?
Unsecured.
Unsecured.
They can just walk.
Unsecured, for them to walk. This one look like some kickback this administration has set up. And then going forward, why, as it relates to transparency, right, so that we understand, you understand if what you're doing is feasible. Because common sense are going to dictate now. Right? If I have to buy, if I have to go to the bank for the bank to loan me, said $80 million, right, to buy, you know, a Hummer. So I love Hummer. Now, $80 million, said $80,000 to buy a Hummer. Right? And yet, I don't have nothing as it relates to security. As it relates to security. I am not using my house against it. Right? That my house may value more than the $80,000. That means if we can't pay the loan, you understand, them can claim the house and sell it. Unsecured loan. We don't know what JPS value as we speak. Why we want to go down this route without being transparent? Without being transparent.
It's in such a rush.
Right? And so then, I mean, The questions that Margolin is asking, those are legitimate questions. That is the reason why we vote for Margolin. So that the opposition can hold you accountable.
But he didn't only ask question, he gave him free advice.
You understand? And you should have paid for the advice of Margolin again
He
too.
gave him free advice.
But you tell me now, what the common sense there? What the brain there? As we speak, what is JP's total value? No, we don't know that. And you are going to tell me, the question that I am asking this question. What is JP's total value against what we plan, you understand, to lend JPS? 150 million US dollars to begin with. And then over the protracted period, we are going to lend an additional 200. Right? What is the value? What is the value? So we could just quickly have Melting Pot and Rattigan respond to this, and then we just move on to Paul Buchanan situation right then and there. All right. Melting Pot, come in at this space fast and quick.
Yeah. My response to all of this, Sir Byron, is simply the fact of the matter that we are running a risk to lend this amount of money to a company that don't have an extended period in terms of its contract. And this company can walk away in the next year and couple of months. But I know that the loan will not be repaid over that short period of time. So it's a risk, and a risk that Jamaica is not willing to take. And Mark Golden is right to ask a question. And I mean, it should be given an answer. So when Pumvad is going and ranting and raving, I mean, he's dodging the question. You understand? He's dodging the question. He don't want to answer it. Because we know that the 150 is from the Hurricane Consolidated Fund money. Yeah. So where is the next 200 million coming from? Yeah. And if, based on what Vaz is saying, that they want to get the country fully powered up within the next 2 months, yeah, then where is the money coming from? You must have the money already sorted out for you to have that time frame that you're working on, 2 months time. Because I'm saying don't want it to go to June. 6 months is too much for the customer. Them going rant and rage. So they want to get it done as quick as possible and get the country powered up and running. So where is the 200 million coming from? You must have, I mean, investors who you have in mind that you're going to say. That's the question Mark Walden is asking. And I think Pumvar should answer it. Because we are very, wise to the fact of how this administration operates when it comes to money. They like kickback when they're going to negotiation and all these things. And so far, the negotiation with GPS is non-existent because we don't know the value of the company. The Jamaica government wants to take up this amount of money to lend them. What type of guarantee we have that the country will get back its money and get the interest that it accumulates in terms of, the going rate? So a lot of questions is there to be answered, and we expect them from Pumvad. And I yield back the floor.
Bless it. Brother Ratty, come into the space.
Yes, this is what happens when you perceive people as dumb, dark, and stupid, and without common sense. Because think about it. It's one simple question you have to ask any one of these. Now that we have Mr. Vaz talking about, one question you have to ask him. Would you treat your personal funds on a personal contract the way you're treating this one? If it's your money, would you give an unsecured loan like that? If it's your money, would you sell your property for 7 million when you know the property worth 14 or 13? Would you? The answer is no. Exactly. And this is what happens when they feel as if they have free reign to do whatever they want to do because they perceive the people as dumb.
Your volume.
Oh, the volume gone.
You can't hear me?
Oh yeah, I hear now.
Yeah. Which part you never hear?
The ending.
The ending. Sentence. The last sentence.
Oh, all right. I'm good.
All right, cool. All right. Let us move to Paul Buchanan situation. We could break it down now because I'm telling you, Jamaica Labour Party, right, is in some problem. And trust me, We can't wait until the date drop, no man. What, December what? December 8th,
December 8th. December 8th.
We can't wait, Ratty. We could go in night. We could get in night. Lift up that Paul Buchanan thing there because right, I didn't get to deal with it because this information came out after Friday when we came off. All right, so albeit we have it now and we are just going to bruise into this. Now, ballot rift affidavit detail alleged irregularities in St. Andrew WC polls on September 3rd. All right, now we can get into it. The Supreme Court is expected to rule next month on the case filed by Paul Buchanan against the constituted authority, which rejected its bid to have the St. Andrew West Central general election declared void. Justice Sonia Wynne-Blair is set to deliver her judgment on December 8th. Wow. Following Tuesday judicial review of the authority's decision, Buchanan, the People's National Party candidate in the September 3 election, is seeking several orders through his attorney, Hugh Wildman. These include declarations that the authorities' refusal to act on his complaint was unlawful, irrational, and void, an order of certiorari to overturn the ruling, and an order of mandamus directing the authority to refer the matter to the election court. Buchanan, a land economist, claims the election won by Prime Minister Andrew Holness of the Jamaica Labour Party was tainted by irregularities such as double voting. You hear that, people? And we believe that. Voter intimidation, we have seen that. And ballot box tampering. He argues that these allegations are supported by sworn affidavit, sworn affidavit, right? Submitted to the constituted authority, right? In one, Marsha Powell, a cluster manager at Seaward Primary School, alleged that there were instances of double voting. She said she saw a presiding officer issue a second ballot to electors after they claimed that the first was spoiled, even though the first ballot had already been placed in the box. Now, I mean, she also claimed that the atmosphere at the Seaward Primary Cluster was not one free from fear, and that the PNP indoor and outdoor agents were harassed and threatened. She added that overcrowding by GLP supporters made it unsafe for non-GLP voters, and mentioned that the presiding officer was unable to control the polling station, leading to overcrowding, threats, and fearful environment. Right? Powell alleged that at one point there was a brawl involving the presiding officer, a GLP indoor agent, and the police. Added to that, she said a policeman monitoring the gate left at 5 p.m., after which persons were allowed. You hear that? Right? So then the situation, when we hear some of the GLP supporters try to defend, right? Someone tried to explain that, okay, all right, for persons who were in the polling station, right, who came in before 5, they are allowed to vote. And yes, that is correct. But this is not what this person is saying. This person is not saying that there were persons who went in before 5, right, and it caused a congestion, and all of those persons were have to be allowed to vote. This person is saying this. Adding to that, she said a policeman monitoring the gate left at 5 p.m. So this a policeman that seems like he's a part of the conspiracy, you know. You understand? So him leave, and after him leave, what happened? After which persons were allowed to enter the compound as they please. So obviously this a policeman here is a part of the conspiracy. You understand? To defraud, right, Jamaican people franchise. She also charged that unauthorized men climbed over the wall and invaded the polling station with the policeman there. Policeman gone, causing chaos and making her fear for her safety. She said counting stopped due to the chaos and that the ballot boxes were left unattended and unaccounted for. That is, right, the objective of the interruption. Sorry. The boxes arrive at the counting center after 10 p.m. Powell alleged 5 hours after poll close. 5 hours after polls close. So they have a 5 hours gap.
The boxes were leaving from Negril.
You understand? Almost from Negril to Kingston for it to take 5 hours. Because traveling from Montego Bay to Kingston take about 3.5 hours. You understand? So then travel far from Montego Bay, further than Kingston, you know. It takes 5 hours. As much time, more than adequate time for any tampering to go on. Right? And this is the evidence that the election was stolen. Clear evidence. In a second affidavit, Everton Sands, a driver of runner for polling divisions 1 to 4, claimed that the police escorting the ballot boxes for the Jerusalem Avenue cluster deviated from the approved courier route, you know. Driving through GLP dominated hostile crowds. So you can see that this was a premeditated plan that they fully executed. Now, the approved route was reportedly Washington Boulevard to Mullines Road to Seward Avenue to Bay Farm Road to the Walton Park Counting Center that was established in an agreement between, you understand, those persons who agreed and the established route. Now look at this now. Sands claimed to have lost sight of the vehicle transporting the boxes right along Olympic Way for 3 to 5 minutes. And as such, what happened? A third affidavit from Warren Blake, campaign advisor to Buchanan, claimed that at several locations, including the Olympic Gardens Health Center and Seward Primary, he observed large disorderly crowds of GLP supporters making noise, drinking, playing loud music, and behaving in a boisterous manner. Right? Now, we are not going to read all of that because all of what we have read, right, is as much, right, to provide, right, the election. This is serious, Rocky. So let me just have you jump in, right, and take us, right, through, right, the calamity of this situation. Yes, go ahead, Brother Ratty. Take us through, right, in terms of the evidence or convincing these evidence are, you understand, to capture a win for Buchanan.
All right. There is a case called Blake versus Holness, 1998. This is after the 1997 election. And there's a whole host of breaches there, election breaches. And interestingly enough, people, in this 2025 election, some of those same breaches occurred. They occurred with the Prime Minister was then just a candidate back in 1997. And they occurred in this year. You should go and read that case from the election court. Very, very interesting. Make we just focus. Forget about 1997, 1990. Just focus on 2015. Here's what the law says. The law says if there's an election breach, one breach is enough to declare the election null and void. Just one, if it substantially affects the integrity of the election. But it's not one here, several. And when you start looking at it, you start seeing again a pattern and practice of election issues. Now, here's the problem. The issue before the court right now, because those of you who watch the show on Saturday, you'll see it. The way it works is that if you have a problem with an election, if you're a losing candidate, there are two ways you can actually get to the constituted authority. But one of them is that if you're a losing candidate, let's just focus on that. If you lost the election, you go to the constituted authority and you make your plea. The only thing that they require under the law from you, affidavits. They don't require video. They don't require live witness testimony. They don't require audio tape. They just say, give us a piece of paper with somebody swearing that they witnessed a breach. Now, in this case, they submitted, I believe, 8 affidavits compiling numerous violations. The question before the court is, what is the responsibility of the constituted authority? Keep in mind, people, the constituted authority is not a court. When you complain to them, here's what they're supposed to do. They read the affidavit, and they only have one thing to do. One, and that is to file a complaint with the election court on your behalf. That's it. But here's what they did in this case. They started assessing the admissibility of evidence. They started assessing the weight of evidence. They started assessing the quality of the evidence. That's not their job. That's the job. That's a job reserved for the court. The court is when they bring in all the witnesses, and then the judge and they start put on your case, and you start examining witnesses and assessing the evidence. So what happened here, Mystic, is that the constituted authority took on the role of the court.
Yes.
And so what Mr. Wildman said, and I've read the submissions, he used several court cases. And you know which court case forms the basis of this? The case called Blake versus Holness, 1998.
97.
Actually, it was 1998 because the election was in December. Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, the election was in December 1997, and the prime minister won. And then Blake complained, and I think it spilled over into early 1998.
Yes.
Right. So what happened is that's the case that they're using, because some of the same argument. And if you remember, folks, when Mr. Blake complained, they had a do-over. Mr. Blake won. Then the prime minister complained, they had a do-over, and he won. Some of the same arguments that Mr. Holness used back in 1998 are some of the same arguments being used against his candidacy or his win. No, I believe, based on the evidence, based on the law, based on the submissions, that this judge will have no choice but to either send it back to the constituted authority and ask them to just send it on to the court, to the elections court, or send it to the elections court herself. I'm also told that the judge could even just declare it null and void, but I think that's reserved for the elections court. Now, here's the key now, Mystic. Here's the key, and I hope you sit down and I hope you not stand up. It look like you stand up right, so but you sit down. Here's the key. Here's the key. Once the court rules that the election is null and void, guess what happened? They're under section 71, subsection B of the Constitution. There is an immediate vacancy. There is no prime minister.
Wow.
And there's no MP. No prime minister, no MP. And as a result of that, the ruling party will have to come up with a candidate to give to the governor general for that person to become the next prime minister.
And none of them is worthy.
Yeah, you're right. So so this prime minister is very, very worried because the case is airtight. And I have said that should the judge rule against Paul Buchanan, I am perfectly willing to talk to my folks and say, let's establish a GoFundMe so we can fund the appeal. Not based on any partisan or anything, based on legal principle that the constituted authority does not have the right, does not have the role, does not have the responsibility to treat this matter as if they're a court. The only thing they can do is act as a courier, not as a court. They take the affidavits and they pass them on to the court and say, court, here are the affidavits alleging breaches of election laws. Now it's up to you. You can bring the witnesses in. You can determine the evidence, all of that. Look at weight, look at admissibility, look at quality, look at this, look at that. Court, it's in your ballpark now. So I am supremely confident that at some point in time, Paul Buchanan is going to win that case. And once he does, there is no prime minister. There's no prime minister because now you're going to have a do-over. And the do-over must take place within 28 days. What happens now is that the ruling party, they have to immediately, like within a day or two, submit a name to the Governor General and said, here's a person whom we believe can corral the confidence of the ruling party in Parliament, can lead us. And then the Governor General is going to go ahead and do it. But here's another thing. Here's another thing to it. When they put that prime minister in, guess what happened? The cabinet have to resign. Because if he wants to, because guess what? The new prime minister must name his cabinet.
Oh, yes.
The new prime minister must, and that is in the constitution. A new prime minister must name him cabinet.
Yes.
So they all have to resign, and if he wants all of them to stay where they are, he can just say, okay, fine, no problem. But once you have a new prime minister, you have to have a new cabinet. And also, guess what happened now? They have to go over and swear in all them people and the Senate as well. So, as you would have said, a bangarang, but it's more than bangarang. It's big bangarang. Big bangarang. Yeah, and somebody had asked about the prime minister being in South Africa, whether it was beneficial or not. No, it wasn't beneficial because I have friends right there who they look, he was embarrassed. And not only that, he went there begging. And they all know that we can't trust this man with money. We cannot trust him with money. So that's why they give him aid. They give him supplies. They will not provide him with cash because they don't trust him. Because they all know. Don't think they don't know about the 28 bank accounts and the illicit enrichment investigation. They all know about it. So this prime minister is very, very worried. If you see the lines them get more pronounced on him face, it's because him know there's a distinct possibility them going to get rid of him. Here's another thing, Mystic. There are people within his party who would like to see his back. They want to see him go.
Yes.
But and so what happens is that they are, and I've been told by insiders that they're quietly cheering for Paul Buchanan, that they want Paul to win the case, so they can just go. And here and the thing about it is that you see, if they should have an internal revolt, like let's say them say we don't have any confidence in you, it might cause a whole heap of problems. But no, they can shift that now to who? Paul Buchanan and the court and Hugh Wildman. Them can say it's them cause it, Mr. PM, why you have to go. It's not we want to get rid of you. We want to keep you, but the law says, the Constitution says you have to go. And therein lies the problem laid bare.
There you go. There you go. I do agree with you, Ratty, also as it relates to the Prime Minister visit in South Africa, right? Not productive, right? I think the better move was for the Prime Minister is to roll up his pants foot, put on a water boot, you understand, and be with the people who are suffering, you understand, and helping those people. That was more productive to me.
You know, Mystic, here's the thing, right? The Jamaica is not a member of the G20, you know.
Exactly.
Jamaica is not a member of the G20. Jamaica just invited. And guess what? You know who's a member of the G20 who wasn't there? The United States. You know who's going to cheer the G20 for the next cycle? It's the United States. Them not there.
Them not there.
You don't get it, them not there. But him there. Right? When like you said, you know, I tell you what, as far as optics concerned, you know what would be better? You know what would have been the best scenario? In their Westmoreland, in their Hanover, St. Elizabeth, in their St. James, whatever, and him a broadcast live to South Africa for the G20. And him said, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues, I'm sorry I can't join you because as you know, we suffered devastation because of Melissa. And so I'm here with my people trying to get things going. And then before it done, him said, but me I beg on our money. And then would have give him.
Yes.
He would have give him because I said this is leadership. The man, him still play a role with the G20, but he must say right now a bigger role is to be with my people. And people feel sympathy for him. But him just up there, him a walk like him a George Bush. If I see him walk with him and them cock off like so like him a two-gun kid. The pure joke. Joke.
All right. Melting Pot, close us out. Right? All right, there you go. Close us out, Melting Pot.
Yes, brother. Well, you know, just from the outset, you know, with the Paul Buchanan and Andrew Wallace, you know, saga as it relates to the various breaches within that constituency. Yeah, and when it was first mentioned by Paul Buchanan to the Constituted Authority, the Constituted Authority stated that Paul Buchanan did not have enough evidence to support his case in the breach of the election in his constituency. Now, when we look at all the breach as it relates to double voting, voters' intimidation, overcrowding by the GLP supporters, brawl involving GLP supporters and indoor worker, police left the post as it relates to the gate 5 p.m. Yeah, that he should have been monitoring. People were allowed to enter as they please. The ballot boxes arrived at the counting station 5 hours after leaving the polling station. The boxes were left in unsupervised, you know, so that anybody could go in and do all these things. Yeah, the police left the designated route with the ballot boxes. Now, all of these constituted breaches, yeah, that should not have occurred. And so we are looking at a cut and dry case as it relates to Paul Buchanan and Andrew Wallace. And Paul Buchanan is going to get the verdict his way. And so we know that, as Rattigan rightly point out, what the outcome will be. And so this is, you know, I think the transformation of this Andrew Wallace-led administration as it relates to him not being a prime minister for Jamaica anymore and not being a member of parliament. And I know that when all is said and done, and that, you know, constituency have a re-election, Paul Buchanan is going to come out the victor. And so this is the end of this devious dictator that we have in the country. Now I hear him tell a whole heap of lie as it relates to the visit to South Africa. And him speak about how many world leaders that he met and how much, you know, he has held positive talk with them and they supported him and welcome him and them said that he's doing a great job. He's doing a great job. You're crazy. None of these leaders have said that to him. You know? As a matter of fact, him even the word that him used, yeah, is an amazing job. Yeah. Let me correct myself. Yeah, that's the word him used. He's saying that the entire people that him gonna go meet said to him, Mr. Prime Minister, I think you are doing an amazing job. Well, unless them don't know about him corruption, as it relates to him 28 bank account and all the other activities, them the amount of Ponzi scheme, the amount of illicit enrichment that him have that cannot be certified. So, you know, but I know Andrew is a liar, right? And even to the fact that, you know, him say, well, his mission there was very helpful towards Jamaica receiving support from international community. Jamaica had the support of the international community long before Andrew Wallace go to South Africa. Yeah? Because if Jamaica did not have the support of the international community, Jamaica would not have, you know, got the aid that it had gotten from the international community. These people don't want to see Andrew Wallace around them. Yeah? And I know for a fact that all the names that he, you know, mentioned that he held discussion with, I know Andrew could not have held discussion with so many leaders because he was not the main man there. I think Andrew Wallace was an uninvited guest. But he's saying that he was invited. Yeah? And he was mulling over the fact whether I should have go or not. But, you know, up to the last 2 days, and then he said, okay, yeah, I'm going. No, come on, Andrew. You can't just say you're going like that. You'd have to make preparation. You can't wait 2 days to make preparation to leave Jamaica for go to South Africa. Lie you tell. You understand? And the fact of the matter that you have made mention of, you know, what you have achieved and you have spoken to leader from Brazil, and he has show you that he'll help you with the agriculture sector, right? And all these things. We know, you're just coming and making reference because you want to, solidify yourself being there. Because you have heard the backlash from the people, none so more than from us in social media. You understand? And you know that you have done something wrong. So what you have tried to do is to vindicate your visit there. But your visit there coincide with the fact that you come back and telling a lot of lies. And we have to rubbish you where that is concerned. Because, you could have done a Zoom, contact, with the people in there and show that you care, as the Ratigan said. Make the people them see you on the ground like how them see Zalinski on the ground. You understand? But you have to take up yourself and show your true colors and enough up yourself around G20 summit. But you're not a part of the G20. Yeah, and why would they invite you there? I'm asking the question. I don't see no reason why they would have invited you there. Because it's not like they're providing you with an emergency care package. You go there to beg. So why would somebody invite you to come to them place to beg? If I'm having a party, at my house, I'm not inviting a beggar, because in my estimation, that beggar is coming there and probably going to disturb and disrupt my party with my guests. Yeah, so I don't know why they would invite a beggar to come around them when they have been giving you things already. But Ratigan, outline some, very substantial criteria as to, how you were treated. Yeah, because these people know about the 28 bank account. They know that you cannot be certified. They know about how many trucks you have running illicit business alongside your prime ministerial role. They know everything about you. And they are not giving you any fiscal cash. They will give you grants, but not any fiscal cash. So your problem lies now that you have to find your way out of this sticky situation. And you're in more than one. Because they know that you have a case with Paul Buchanan as well. And they know everything. They watch it through various means. You understand? Remember that the election was, televised in certain places in the world. They look on the day, September the 3rd. They monitor what was happening. Yeah. And you should have known that what they have seen does not argue well for you, Andrew Wallace, especially in your constituency. Remember, people have made complaint that you come, and you overrun polling station, because you come and you saw that the PMP supporters was out in full force, and you left and came back with some police and overrun the polling station. You have some of them even closed, yeah? And they know everything that went on the day. And we have seen this pattern where you's concerned. Yeah, you have done it more than once, This is the third time now you're doing it, because you do it against Manayard up on National Arena to choose the leader for your party, the election. And you've done it before in a general election. So this is a pattern that you portray. Yeah. So everybody is wise to your move, your chess move. But this time your chess move fail you, because you can't get away from the reality that there will have to be a rerun of that constituency seat. And you won't be the victor. And you know that your time has drawn nine. And I yield back the floor.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let me first, say big thanks to the powerful panel that we have. Right, Brother Milton Pot, Brother Ratigan, excellent. Right, love that. And for all the people who tune in with Mystic Sensation, loving a bud, you understand? And we want to say big thanks for you to pass through as usual, right, and keeping the mystic energy alive. Right, let me just give wifey to hand over. Wifey.
Okay, more blessings to everyone. Again, thank you guys, as Baron said, for tuning in. Really appreciate each and every one. And bless up to the panelists. Thank you again for your insightful discussion and adding substance to the discussion as well. Remember, guys, to tune into Mr. Ratigan tomorrow evening. When he'll be on live, and then you can call in and have an interactive session with him. And until we see you again on Thursday, safe travel on the gravel and stay blessed and have a good night.
All right. Blessings.
Bless up, brother.
All right, cool.
I know why you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable and stop making excuses for them.